So, hey everybody.
I felt quite well, as a matter of fact. So
Yeah, how's it going, everybody? Thanks for joining. Sorry about the inconvenience there. I screwed up. So, there we go. Um, I'm gonna hang out for a bit longer, just to hey, Charlie and Sam and Wally and a whole bunch of you. It's great to see all of you here. I'm
yeah,
pretty sure this is the Raconteur Press effect.
just maybe we know where the party is. So
Yep. You are, rock stars, which is, one of the reasons I love hanging around with you.
I don't know that we're rock stars. I just think we like to have a good time. I mean, and we would just assume. I mean, if we can have a silly time and really annoy people who get annoyed at people like us, I think we've done a public service. So
I agree. I agree.
yeah, filling multiple needs.
There was a thing on Twitter, and probably shouldn't be going off. Well, here's a
Have
first tangent.
eight
There was a
minutes,
guy on Twitter who
eight
was
minutes until it's official. So
yeah. So a guy on Twitter saying that he gets tired of people looking for offense, and I do
that would be
too.
David, who's here. So
But I mean, yes, yes. Wally's going to bring the Munchkin big box. But one of my responses to that was, I really hate it when people take offense, just look for it.
yeah,
Because not only
let's
I'm absolutely sympathetic for somebody who has an actual grievance, but someone who looks for a grievance,
hmm
what they've done is they've incrementally made me less trustworthy of someone who says they have the same problem. And so someone who has the same problem may very well be deserving of my sympathy and my help and all that. But all these people who have essentially cried wolf have made me not want to believe, and
it
that's one of the negative parts of that.
It diminishes our trust society. It really
Yeah.
does. I mean, it's one of those things that strikes at the heart of our trust society. Wow, this is too serious. Stop it. So, but yeah,
Don't
it's
worry, guys, we're gonna get a lot less serious here in about,
well,
6
the point
minutes.
is, why bother? Why bother? I mean, you could be annoyed all the time, or you could be having fun. I mean, I really think that we need to have like a glitter lipstick fight or something. David and Mike have this bromance going on, and what we still have to get. David Batterina has not seen The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing. And it's like,
I've not seen John Carpenter's The Thing.
what? What? Henry is really unhappy with that. You're going to Henry's going to make commentary here. I have a 21-year-old cat, guys, and he's like annoyed because I woke him up. Um, so come here, Henry. Just stop it with the yowling. Just quit. He's got dementia. He gets stuck in corners and lost. And
And right now he's giving me 2 paws down.
2 paws down. Not I may actually go get him at a certain point if I have to because he gets really loud. So, anyhow, but yeah, I mean, I think we should have glitter fights. But apparently now we have to have a viewing of The Thing at like FanCon or LibertyCon because David will be there, right? So, um, yeah, I mean, no, actually, we need the whole Kurt Russell thing with the legs out of the head thing. I mean, that's just like that's the most real response to a monster transformation I've ever seen in the movie. So it's like, I love that. So clearly, you need to see it now too. We have 2 complete Thing versions, and we need to solve this issue.
I don't do horror movies. I don't do monster movies
It's
very much.
funny. It's actually funny.
Is it?
So
Yeah. Well, I'll give it a shot.
yeah,
I mean, I'll give it a shot on the assumption. I know this is gonna be a crazy assumption. There might be alcohol involved at a
yeah.
record press thing, so I'm gonna assume that's possible.
Well, okay, so at FenCon, I have people keep bringing us bottles of things, and I get sent home with like a like cooler full of alcohol from every convention. So I'm going to bring all of the partially drunk bottles to FenCon because we're not working, and I expect people to help me get rid of it. So anyway,
Holy cow, 4 new subscribers just so far. Thank you, Parrish. Thank you, Trinity. Thank you, Casper. Thank you, Darwin. That's Thanks for joining. I'm glad you're
funny,
here.
when David was still doing Earthquake, I was his highest rated episode. So
Well, so far you're You're
And Mike
top
was
of the
number
chart.
2 behind me because we're just fun folk, so
Yes. Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we've gotten to be friends over the years
oh,
is
yeah.
is all those times we've hung out doing absolutely nothing except saving the world.
Well, what our first real long conversation was at Author Nation,
Yeah,
um,
20 books where we sat in the food court
for, like,
for,
4
I don't know,
hours.
4
It was,
hours,
like,
yeah.
4 hours, we were on those really uncomfortable chairs because when we were like, "We have things we have to do," and we went to stand up, and we both went, "Ow."
They were awful chairs. I mean, I'm sure that they're designed to be awful chairs. I'm sure they're
Yes,
designed.
say, I mean, but, oh my lord, so,
Yeah,
hey,
we totally swapped SCA stories. You got it in one, Wally.
4
And
hours.
I'm gonna go ahead and toss it out. Not that if you're not in the SCA, this doesn't really matter. My wife got announced for the Pelican this weekend, and what that
That's a big
is,
deal.
it's
It's
really cool.
mhm,
There are these variety of orders of peerage in the SCA, and
mhm,
Knight is the one that you guys probably somewhat familiar with. Pelican is on that same level. It means service,
mhm.
and currently in this chat, there is a Pelican on this
Yes,
chat right now, and that's her.
and a Laurel, and a
2
Laurel.
Laurel, 2
Yeah,
Laurel.
yeah, I'm a double peer, and unless they make a sharp tongue a legal heavy weapon, I'll never be a triple, so, I
Well,
mean, s
there are 2 new peerages now.
oh, I've been out long enough, I'm like, It's okay."
Yeah, they've added a peerage for rapier fighting and a peerage that literally the premieres of the orders got elevated this past weekend. The
"Oh, how
Order
cool."
of the Mark, which are
We did
for archery and thrown weapons
oh,
and for, siege weapons.
hey, yay! Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, alright. So,
It
well, I'm
is
still not gonna qualify in those either because I don't need to throw things at people, I just use my eyebrow, so, uh,
death by eyebrow. Yes, you do have a +5 eyebrow of doom.
eyebrow too. No, I actually haven't been active in the SCA for a long, long time, primarily because well, when you get to the point that you're w could you just, like, "Hey, Deej is, like, coming out and Henry's annoyed." So, um, but, when I decided I needed to leave the SCA when I realized that I had changed the diapers of the last 3 kings. So, when they were born. So and I knew what they were packing, and it wasn't impressive anyway. So, I was just like, "Why am I here?" So, they were annoying children then, and they were still annoying children on the throne. So, um,
Yeah, the one of the weirdnesses about being in the SCA is I've done this for 20, almost 30 years now,
yeah.
and, you know, you do it and you end up getting more and more responsibilities, and that means you kinda know more about what's behind the scenes,
Yeah.
and the SCA
I'm like,
sausage can be really annoying to watch.
oh, yeah. I mean, you essentially become the tech crew putting the show on stage, and when you especially when you're a double, I mean, because 'cause you're stuck in 2 meetings. Ugh. And then you become kingdom officers like your wife, and everything in the background that creates the mystery and the beauty. I mean, it's lovely, but when it reaches 49% fun, it's time to step back.
Yeah,
And it hit
I've been
45.
kind of
Yeah.
sorry, I kinda stepped back a bit because I was also a kingdom officer,
Mhm.
and I was the kingdom herald, so I got to do all the heraldy stuff.
Oh, boy.
Um,
Then you know my friend Liz, Elizabeth de Rossignol.
yes, I do. Well, I think I've met her once, but I mean, we hear her name every coronation.
Yes, you do. Yep, because she's from your neck of the woods.
Yep,
So before we moved
yep.
to my kingdom and we became fast friends. She's delightful. So
3rd or
it's
4th
7.
queen? Something
What?
like that. 3rd or 4th queen of Calontir, as I
Yes.
recall. Something
Yes.
like that.
Mhm.
Alright, we have gone off on several tangents, and it's 7 o'clock, so I'm gonna go ahead and start so we can get to the official tangents and go crazy. So, thanks to everybody who's joined. This is gonna be really fun. Make sure that you toss in whatever questions you want to toss in on the chat there, and we'll get to them as we go roaming about all the things we do.
Because
My name is Rob Howell. Thanks for joining again. I write, I edit, I published. I've done a lot of things in my life, starting with this podcast now. And uh, to get to what's coming up next week, I'm going to be discussing this Masters of the Fist, which I only stumbled upon the stories in here because they're actually in several things that I've read elsewise. It's a collection of short stories from a guy who really didn't write anything more than this, and yet they're excellent. And Jerry Pournelle is the guy who got me on this. We'll talk about that next week. The week after that, we're going to have another interview with a creative person. That's going to be Caleb Jordan Schultz, who is an artist. He's got some amazing adventures to talk about. He is currently he currently writes, does art, and he's building his own house on a mountain in Maine,
ooh, I love that.
um, by hand. And so he's really interesting dude. And then at the end of March, Chris Kennedy is going to join us. We're going to talk about his creative processes, but we're also going to talk about, I suspect, the Four Horsemen universe is finally coming to a conclusion on its
Oh,
mainline thread,
okay.
and it's uh, take it in every way you wanna. The ending is explosive. It's, I don't know how many books are in 120 or so books in that series, and the explosions, I've gotten to read some of the final stuff. The explosions are worth it's a worthy end. And then following that, first weekend in April is going to be Dave Butler, who is an amazing editor and
Dave.
writer in
Oh,
his own right, musician as well. He's one of those annoying people who's really good at everything, and you just kind of want to kick him in the shins because he's
well,
just
because
that.
you can't, because he's so tall. Or
Yes,
pull out his nose hair. Just
yeah,
leap up and pull out his nose hair. So,
exactly so. But that's what's coming up here, and I've got more stuff coming up in March and April. But we'll get to that later. Right now, though, let's welcome Jonna Hayden, the amazing and brilliant and awesome Jonna Hayden, who I'm absolutely excited to suck up to all evening. Tell us about yourself.
do do you know how old I am? So, well, okay, right now I am the production manager and person who makes people wear pants at Raconteur Press. I know it even says it on my cards. I mean, she who makes them wear pants. So although I mean, I have a hard time getting Ian Law Dog out of shorts, and they have to be short shorts because um, prior to my adventures with Raconteur Press. I was a professional costume designer for 30 some odd years, and had my own shop and was doing shows. I have over 200 shows to my credit, was doing opera and ballet and musical theater and making things for people whose checks did not bounce. Um, so your check bounced.
Speaker.
So, and I was very good at that. Was self-employed creative for a long, long time. I'm also was also in the SCA, which Rob and I were talking about, for 35 years, and kind of got to the point of ain't no further up from here with them, and then real life and stuff. So that's like the little short, tiny version of who is Jonna. Um, so so yeah, and I also speak. I'm a clothing historian. I speak at conventions about costume and clothing and dress and why it matters, and how I've also spoken extensively to authors about do not do not mess up your Regency terms because they will wall your book if you get it wrong. So, so right. Um,
I've
so
got a
and
story
why?
on that. Not on
Yeah,
Regency, but I'm a historian of medieval England.
yeah.
Um, you can barely see it, but there's a picture of Dark Ages. Dark Ages, hate that term, but it's the Dark Ages map of Britain from the National Geographic, which, while it's really dated, is still kind of fun to look at. But anyway, that's my period. 10th century Mercia is my period.
Ooh, cool.
And so Bernard Cornwell, one of my favorite authors of all time, wrote in that period, and there's stuff in there that I can't. I love him in everything else. I suspect everything else is just as ahistorical, but I love the stories. I just can't get past it in the Last Kingdom stuff.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
really bothers me.
Well, the story I tell all the time for me is like somebody was talking about the princess appeared in a cloth of gold dress, which is a dress made with fabric that has gold wrapped around the threads, right? On
Yes.
this grass world where they had no metals and no technology and no mining and stuff. And I'm like, oh, no, honey, she's not wearing that. It's not happening. And I also thought it was kind of lazy because you could have had such an interesting approach to clothing with just grass and what you did with it and the weaving and how it was built. But no, it took the lazy. She had a gold princess dress. I was like, oh my god, no, So it's just tedious, don't take yeah, don't take me into a historical movie. Just don't. So I throw things at the screen. I get thrown out of the theater. So
And my favorite representation of Beowulf on screen is 13th Warrior. And of course, they do a lot of that. A lot of the costume, especially the armor, is so wrong. Like some of it is 600 years previous, and some of it is
oh
600
yeah.
years
Well,
after.
there's a movie Beckett that from like the 1960s that has
Oh yeah,
incredible movie, unbelievable acting, 6 centuries in one scene. I mean, in one scene, just like, so
I
so
know it's crazy. And yet, the reason I love 13th Warrior is some of the things they do get absolutely spot on.
you're right.
They get the Germanic warrior ethos spot on.
Yeah, yeah, they
And
do.
and
So
there's a part early in it where, Omar Sharif is talking to, Harriger the Joyous, and I'm what Dennis Storhoy is the actor's name, and they're talking to each other before they go north and before he's the 13th warrior and all that, and they're talking in Latin, and not only are they talking in Latin, correct Latin,
yeah,
they're talking in a Latin that feels medieval to me as opposed to classical. Medieval
yeah,
Latin is vastly different
yes.
than classical Latin, and the way some of the things they word choices feel much more medieval Latin than they do.
Yeah.
So I'm just blown away by some of that stuff.
Wouldn't you like him to get it all right at the same time? Wouldn't
Yes,
it
I would. I
I
will
mean
say this, I understand the armor and the dress part, and the armor part, because the one drawback about sort of Germanic, um, armor is
mhm.
that it's all the same.
Yeah,
They'd be wearing chainmail hauberks, pretty much not much else. I mean, no huge differentiation in that. And I can
no,
kinda understand a storytelling reason
yeah.
why one would want to differentiate the characters.
Well, you're using the costume design to help differentiate and explain the characters,
Yes.
which I completely understand that. It's like people always are on me about, "What do you think of Bridgerton?" I'm like, "It's a fantasy. It's supposed to be like that. It's not supposed to be historically accurate, and it's really fun fantasy." And they really delved into the whole understanding the character through their clothing, which is
Yeah.
fabulous. I mean, it's so coded in so many interesting ways, and everyone expects me to go, "Oh my god, Bridgerton is so awful." I'm like, "No, it's not. It's dead on for what it's doing." And
I
then
mean,
we
if you're
get yeah. So
sorry, I was just gonna say if you're making conscious changes
mhm.
because you want to do some sort of other thing, I can accept that.
Yeah.
But like you were talking about the person there being lazy and just, "I'm gonna do gold in a world that doesn't really have gold."
Yeah, because they have no mining. So,
How would you do that? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, hello? So, it's like, what are your trade routes? So,
So we haven't even gotten to question 3, and already we've gotten tangent.
push that button on Shauna and see what happens. So,
Alright, so, um,
I do
obviously, as one of the big bosses at Raconteur Press, you guys do a whole bunch of science fiction and fantasy and
well,
westerns and all this other stuff. What
yeah.
kinda got you into this kind of writing, especially science fiction and fantasy? What are some of the things that were made it so fun for you when you were younger or
Okay,
interested
so
first getting
not
into?
right. Well, I was a Navy brat. I was a Navy kid. I went to 13 different grade schools. I mean, imagine being the new kid 13 times, Wow, that's fun, and keep moving. It's like, I don't have to bother making friends here because these people are annoying and I'm just gonna move in like 3 to 6 months anyway, so what do I care, right? But when I was in 1st grade in Spain at David Glasgow Farragut Elementary School on Rota, on the base, which interesting enough, Jim Curtis and I were at there at Rhoda at the same time, of course, because 6 degrees of Jim Curtis. So
God save us all from 6 degrees of Jim Curtis.
right. So it turns out we'd both been to Chicken in the Dirt, which is the little like food thing at the back gate of the base. I mean, he mentioned it one day, and I was like, "What?" But when I was going to school there, Mrs. Arnold, my first grade teacher, knew that my dad was a lifer, and that I was going to have to, I was going to be moving a lot just because of what he did. He was a nuclear power safety trainer with Rickover's nuclear subs, so we went all over the place. So yeah, and so he my teacher took me to the library and said, "Pick out 3 books and, go find 3 books in the library. And when you get to your next school, go look for those 3 books. And then you'll have friends when you get there." And one of them was Harold and the Purple Crayon, which is very solipsistic beginning to a child's existence. So, create your own universe. Hmm. Um,
Oh, that's cool. I've never heard of that book. I may have to
well,
find a copy for my granddaughter.
yeah, Harold wakes up and he takes a purple crayon and he draws his world and he wanders through the world as he draws it, which I find very interesting in a couple of very fun ways and disturbing ways all at the same time as an adult. Um, and then Danny and the Dinosaur, and then there was Space Child's Mother Goose, which was science fiction retellings of Mother Goose. So, and my mother also had a copy of that book. So I was indoctrinated to science fiction early on in existence and technology, right? So every time we moved, I'd go to the library and I'd find a book, and I just kept reading until I stumbled across Podkane of Mars. I think I was in 4th grade.
Great book.
Yeah, and devoured it. Just
Yeah.
devoured
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
And then and then I was like, "And is there more of this?" So I read all the Heinlein juveniles, and, and then when I was 12, and I kept reading, associated stuff. I lived in books because I didn't have any friends. I was a very shy kid, could barely
Well,
talk to
you
anybody.
moved like 89 times the first year.
That's Henry. I know, Henry, you're a lonely cat. You really are. It's okay. Do you wanna come take him to the yeah, Dee's just came to fetch the cat, so
So while we got a break, I'm gonna switch here just a little quickly based on comments here. I want to point out that your little discussion there really put the old in old NFO. So I want to commend you on that. And secondly, Hardwick asked, and I'm just
yeah.
going to go ahead and jump to this because before I forget about it. Do you have any opinions on whether it's best to use a pen name? What's the best balance between privacy and letting readers get to know you?
Hmm. Well, okay, since I read all the contracts for, Raconteur Press, I can tell you that there's some people who absolutely have to have a pen name, because what they do in the real world,
Sure,
they can't share those worlds. They need the privacy and the separation from, their work life and their writing life.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, and some people, I mean, they just do work that can't, and we have 8 or 9 people that we have that with them. Also, I mean, if you're going to be a particular kind of genre writer, you're going to be like, I write science fiction, you're everything, and you built up an audience of people who like science fiction. If you suddenly switch to doing, say, a Yeti romance, you're going to want a different name because your 2 audiences, you're going to develop a completely different audience for Yeti
Right.
romance. Wasn't necessarily going to read hard science fiction, right? So there's the so you, if you're developing an audience for a particular genre and you're doing something so radically different, you want to have a different name for it. I mean, that's just a given, because though your 2 audiences aren't going to mesh. And I'll tell you on Amazon, if you have both audience, oh, let's go see what else they write, and somebody loves your hard mill SF is going to look at the other stuff and go, what is with it? So you don't want to alienate. So personal work reasons, different genre reasons, and also maybe you just don't want that much attention to your personal life
Sure.
and you want to keep yourself separate from your audience. So, um, because there are some very scary people in the world,
Yeah.
and you just sometimes you just don't want them to know you that well. So, So yeah.
I agree, with a lot of that. I mean, there are absolutely my take as a former publisher is that there are absolutely reasons to do so, and Jonna enumerated some good ones.
Mhm.
Um, a reason not to do so is if you're an independent writer, a lot of times what you are selling isn't a book
Yeah.
per se, you are selling I'm selling myself. I'm
Yeah.
Rob. People buy stuff because they know me and have gotten to know me, and so
Yeah.
that's an advantage. That being said, if there was something where I was writing something that was, vastly different, I
Mhm.
might very well use a pen name because there might very well be a reason.
Yeah.
But and I don't wanna alienate my reader base. I don't wanna ruin what I've got. So, Hardwick, I guess the answer I'm gonna give you is that you should figure out what's important to you,
Mhm.
and this is true for every writer. You should figure out what's important to you, what's important to the way you wanna market. And the truth is that every writer these days has to seriously think about how they market. And we're doing this podcast because what I was doing for marketing had kind of paled and gotten stale, and I talk a lot. Everybody who knows me knows I talk a lot, and so I
But
started
you're
doing the
fun to talk
podcast.
to. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I want my personality to kinda get out. So this is why I'm trying to change things up. So I
Mhm.
hope that answers it somewhat. We're gonna move on. And did you wanna you got distracted by Henry there. Did you wanna add anything more about some of your early influences before we move on?
Well, Heinlein, and then,
Yeah.
yeah, moving into Heinlein and going to my first science fiction convention when I was 15,
Yeah. Neat.
stumbling into the SCA, finding a bunch of science fiction people who I didn't know existed. It's like and then, so
You're welcome, Wally. He just said
yeah,
it's my fault he's writing because I talk a lot.
yeah, really.
Where's that mic that I dropped? Oh, it's right there. Never mind. So, back to Raconteur Press. One of the things I've been amazingly impressed about you guys, and I got to see this not only from just sort of outside, but as someone who tried to run a fantasy publishing house myself.
Mm,
You guys work at an amazing pace. The energy you guys put into this is truly impressive. I couldn't match it when I was running New Mythology Press. Now, to be fair, it was mostly me, and you've got a nice crew there working with you.
yeah. Yeah, we have a
Uh,
solid so
you feel free to toss in some of the team, but I know you got big plans for 2026. So let's hear about some of the things that Raconteur Press has got going on.
Okay, so, this year is kind of an interesting year because we started off being an anthology press with a really psychotic schedule, but part of that was just teamwork and somebody who knows how to run a schedule, which would be me. So
Shock
so
face.
like, mm. But we decided, in the middle of last year that we wanted to start doing boys' books, boys' adventure books. And we also had developed a really amazing group of authors, many of which who are on here, who were writing novels. And, we felt very strongly that the people who had taken a chance on us when we were beginning as an anthology press to just trust us and give us their work because we're nothing without our authors, right? We don't exist without their words on the page. That we wanted to start publishing their novels because they were graduating out of short stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we started this year with novels, and so we're doing anthologies, boys' adventure books, and novels. We're doing one novel a month and sometimes two, one boys' book a month and one anthology a month, and sometimes two because we chloroformed David Batterina into doing four for us. Um, so yeah, so it's a shift in our schedule. We're not doing as many anthologies, but we have a little more time. We also haven't really expanded our team too much, so we've shifted around some of our responsibilities. So this is our year to really dive and pivot into boys' books because it's a seriously underserved market, and the response has been enormous. And also with novels, we found some really amazing new authors.
Yes, you have.
Yeah, I mean, and so we're particularly proud, because um, We didn't know that Mike Burke was a poet, but it turns out he is. He didn't expect him to write a children's book, but he did. Nick Nethery got his first book out, our original intern Steve, Relics of the Fallen. And then Pierce, J. Kenton Pierce, who makes all of us just want to quit writing because he's just that good, got his first book out, Kiss for Damocles. And between him and Dave Freer giving us our first boys book, which is Storm Dragon, we now have 2 books nominated for a Prometheus Award,
Nice.
which kind of says, okay, maybe all this psychotic work is resulting in some serious quality, you know.
Well, I mean, honestly, I can look at the live chat here and
Mhm.
say that you've had some progress. I mean, I've
Yeah.
had 5 people join tonight because I mentioned the other 4. Thanks, John Douglas, for joining as well. I
Oh,
mean,
John. Yeah. So,
this is impressive. You may be a small press now, but I mean,
well,
you're taking major steps forward. That's very clear. I'm
well,
very
part of
impressed, with you guys.
very clear in our mission. We know who we are.
Yep.
We know what kind of books we want. We set a schedule in the mid-year for the following year. We agree to, what we're doing. We're also very agile. We learned some things and went, oh, back up, stop, start over, try that again. And we're always learning in our
Yeah,
iterate.
iterative failure. I mean,
Yep.
it's the SpaceX thing, right?
Yeah. So, and it's I kind of stand in the middle, and sometimes I'm the bad guy with going, get this stupid thing done, So, but you need somebody in the center, kind of going, do that. I make my job is to make all of the paperwork run so everybody around me can focus on doing their editing work and doing
Yeah.
their artwork and everything. I hold the center so everybody else can focus on the things they need to focus on, which takes a lot of pressure off. I mean, you were like all of it. I mean, which is incredibly hard. I'm really impressed with what you got done. So
I was good at some things and wasn't good at others, and that's what
yeah.
I discovered most about it is that the things I was good at are, um, I'm a pretty good developmental editor, and I'm pretty good at seeing when a story has potential.
Mhm.
I'm not great at the paperwork, and I'm not great at publicity. So,
Well, yeah, and so the point is to find the people who have those strengths.
yeah,
Yeah, and because we have people who are not good at paperwork. I mean, I'm really good at paperwork. I don't like it, but I'm really good at it. But I'm not a writer. I'm not an author. I mean, but I know how to get a show on stage. So that
yep,
means I get a book to publication. So, but you work with the team and all their different skills, and we are so blessed with such an amazing team. We've
you've
just
got a great team.
tremendous people and been incredibly lucky and are amazed they're still sticking around. So, you know.
Well, I mean, I tell you, I talked to you about this at Pecan,
Mhm.
and I've already started getting a little bit more with you guys.
Yeah.
It's my hope to become much more part of your team because I am so impressed with you guys, and I wanna hitch my, car to the rising tide, as it were.
Yeah, and we
Um,
know a good one when we see one. So
thank
so
Another question popped up. Hardwick is hitting it tonight. Here's a great one. Why did you have a fox in the Raconteur Press logo? Why not a
oh,
raccoon? Because it's the raconteur, but also let's be fair. You guys are pretty feral, and are foxes more feral or less feral than raccoons?
well, okay, so the fox, it comes directly from Law Dog. Um,
Okay.
our publisher, Law Dog, if you're not familiar with his 2 books and the fact that he is a raconteur extraordinaire, don't ever have a mouthful of anything when he's telling a story because you will spit it across the room because the man has an
Aim at him when you do. It's always better if you aim
yeah,
at him.
right? But he's always used Fox as one of
Okay.
his personal logos. So when Raconteur Press was put together, the amazing Jack Wilder went, "This needs to be your logo," and we went, "Okay," So because it's very much him. That's his personal icon is a fox. So that's where that comes from. Although people keep sending us rubber ducks because we always bring ducks with us because we're trying to keep all our ducks in a row. We even have wiffle ducks that we throw at people. We wiffle like wiffle balls because the regular ducks hurt when you hit people. So we had to reduce Jonna's paperwork and potential insurance claims by getting wiffle ducks. God bless Jesse that don't hurt.
How did Racketeer Press fail? The insurance
Yeah,
claims from duck damage.
duck damage. Uh, so yeah, so that's why we had that. So
Cool. That's a
yeah.
neat one.
Mhm.
So shifting gears all the
Sure.
way from writing, you mentioned
Can you
earlier you're
drive
a costume
much?
designer, talked a
Do
little
you
bit
drive?
about the SCA.
Mhm.
You do the Dickens Fair, which I find really
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah.
Um, Reenactment and period clothing's huge for you. How did you get into costumes?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So my origin story actually starts when I'm about
Yeah, let's give your origin
uh,
story.
I have an origin story, and I tell this one a lot because it's very much the beginning of everything for me. My mother was a professional dressmaker and a tailor. She's trained as a tailor. And I grew up in the Navy, and my mother made extra money for us by making ball gowns for the officers' wives and altering the uniforms for the officers. And
Wow.
so we'd be living in crappy Navy housing, and these incredibly beautiful women would come in and disappear into my mom's bedroom and then, come out in these amazing dresses that she made for them. And I spent a lot of time sitting under her table. I mean, one of my earliest memories is sitting under her sewing table and reaching up and grabbing pins off of her pincushion and her taking them out of my hand and putting them back on the pincushion and giving me a little sparkly piece of fabric instead. You know, so so she got really annoyed with me because I kept trying to sneak in and see what she was doing. And she plunked me down in front of the TV one day, and The King and I was on. And it was the ball gown scene. Oh, with Yul Brynner and Deborah Carr, and she was swirling around the floor in that absolutely glorious, amazing dress, and I had never seen anything like that.
It's a great
It was the
movie. I have seen that one.
Yeah, right? I mean, thank you for us ancient folk here, so and I was like mom came out, and I was like, "Mom, mom, mom," and she's like, "What?" And I said, I wanna do that." And she says, "Oh, well, you need to learn pattern drafting, and you need to learn about bodice construction and how to do boning," and she was, like, telling me all this stuff, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Okay." So she started giving me little scraps of fabric so I could dress my trolls because I was not allowed to have Barbies. I still have my little trolls and a couple little dresses I made for them, and that's when I started sewing. I mean, yeah, I know I didn't get Barbies because she's like, "They're not the proportions are all wrong, and they don't work." So, like, trolls had proper proportion, right?
You had trolls instead of Barbies because trolls were more realistic.
But they are shaped with little tummies and big feet and, and big thighs and stuff. So, I mean, I guess they're a little more real and they have flat feet, unlike Barbies that have those little pointy feet. So, so anyway, I started sewing and I started making all sorts of weird little things. And then at 15, like I said, I went to Oricon and ran smack dab into the SCA. And I was just like, what do you mean there's people who do this? You know? And I was just amazed, and of course, somebody was obviously wearing Elizabethan, which I was like, "What?" Um, so I found my local SCA tribe, and at 16, I was a bunny for a barbarian at our Labor or Memorial Day weekend event, and 15 years later, I was a Laurel, you
Yeah.
know? So, I started sewing, and I went to college, and I took costume construction classes, and I was doing historical recreation, and my mother was a champion. I mean, she was amazing, and, she's like, "Nope, tear it out. It's not right. I swear to God, I hate collars and zippers." Because mom was like, "Nope, nope, tear it out. It's not right. Do it over. Learn it. Iron your seams." I can still hear her voice in my head. Um, but the technical skills were what was important, and then I spent time doing summer stock and working at Shakespearean Festival and, working, as a stitcher all over the place. And then what was it? I ended up working in the shop for the opera and the ballet and stuff, and then I ended up taking it over. And then I started being a costume designer, which is vastly different than being a stitcher, but I brought a lot of my knowledge with me. Um, and and yeah, it just went from there. I have an intrinsic love of clothing and what it says about people and how it communicates to people. And and people say that, "Oh, I don't say anything with my clothing." I'm just like, "And you'd be wrong." So, because you can learn an enormous amount about a person by what they wear. So, um,
What
so
kind
yeah,
of shirt do I always wear at, cons, and what
yeah,
kind of shirt am I currently wearing?
right. It's not like you're not saying something,
Yeah,
right?
I've got my
So
rush shirt on all the time.
yeah,
Part of
which
my
is
brand.
that translates. It's very important for authors to understand that the clothing you put your characters in matters.
Yeah.
And I get to explain sumptuary law all the time, which is what caste and how different colors matter and how we tag ourselves as tribe. I mean, I taught at an arts high school for 8 years, and the kids in my costume class were like, "Well, we don't wear uniforms," and I went, "You'd be wrong."
You'd be wrong.
And I said, "I sat at registration, and, like 150 something of you walked through the door at registration, and 130 of you had skulls on your clothes. Tell me you're not tagged." You know?
I mean,
Um,
I can remember all this, all sorts of ways that we were showing how different we were, in high school, and
yeah,
yet we were all showing we were different by basically doing the same things.
pretty
Like
much.
having our shoes, high top shoes unlaced, and
Yeah,
there were like 30% of the guys were all wearing them exactly
yeah.
the same way. I mean, it was just
Well,
it's
it's
huge.
also I teach a class called Learning to See, which is learning to recognize tribe by observing the people around you. I mean, I used to take my kids downtown to the business district and for my class, and we just sit there and I'd say, "What do you think that guy does? What do you think that person does? What's their business? Oh, that's a skater chick. How do you know?" And so
Yeah.
learning to analyze what they're seeing in front of them.
That's a really good skill to have for writers to have.
Yeah, yeah,
One of the things I would do So one of the important skills I think a writer needs to develop is when you don't have the story coming out, write something else.
yeah.
And one of the ways I would do that is a lot of times I would go write in a bar in Kansas City called Brewbakers, and
Oh,
I had my own spot. They knew my order. They were very generous to me. But a lot of times I would sit there and okay, the story's not coming out, and I would just start looking across the bar, and I
yeah.
would make D&D characters out of patrons, out of how they looked, and so it was entirely, um, superficial, but, you look and, oh, maybe they have a ring and you say that they've gotta have a magic ring or maybe they're dressed,
Yeah.
whatever, and
Well,
suddenly I have all the yeah, Wally would know that place.
well,
Um,
what's funny is when you spend your life in that space. It's like when Mike Burke walked up to me for the first time at, I think, the first Pecan. He walked up to me and he had been taught, setting his stories and everything, but he walked up and I went, "Oh God, not another military guy." He's like, "What?" It's like his gig line was perfectly straight. His stance was perfect. It was all, it's like you have all the bearing and all of your clothing. I mean, you could be standing there in your underwear and I'd know you were a military guy just because how you would have your underwear ironed. But, so it's like,
just for the
there,
record, I'm not a military guy, nor has my underwear ever been ironed.
but
Just
you know what
you
I mean,
wanted to
though.
know
There are very specific things
that.
people still do that tells an enormous thing amount about their history. So in the clothing they wear. So it's a fun topic for me. That button I could poo for hours. So and have. So
No, I mean, yeah, that's actually Spearman, that's what someone who irons their underwear would actually say
right
anymore. There you go.
more
Actually, that is really, a skill that you should, I don't know, start
cultivate.
you
Yeah.
cultivating it for yourself, but push more on the writers because
Yeah.
the more we pay attention to these little I mean, there are lots of little things that we all look at that are to our minds. As writers, we get into habits of looking at the same things because they're what we used to.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I use a bunch of randomizers to try and get me out of my own sort of, um, uh,
Yeah.
comfort zone.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I've done a lot of, I have a lot of conversations at conventions. People walk up and go, "So if I'm gonna have this house," and I'm like, "Oh, well, think about this. Tell me about that." And then we like brainstorm up, So, I have to plug in my phone because I mean this live stream eats power. So I do have a lot of those conversations at conventions, which is much nicer than hearing, "Let me tell you about my new book," because unless you've written your book, I don't want to hear about it. So,
right.
oh,
I mean,
um,
that's the finishing a book is one of the most important finishing a story is one of the most important skills you can have as a writer, and it's
yeah.
actually a skill, and it's something you have to work on.
Well, it's not
And
just that. It's like when you verbalize out your story, you think you've written it and you haven't.
right,
So,
that's true.
so you need to actually write the story. Pardon me while I fix my phone, which my charger has to be plugged in. So,
One of the places I verbalize, a lot of my storyboarding, story creation, 2 places, and they're fairly common probably, in the shower and in the car. And those are great places for my mind to go roaming around and being creative.
Yeah.
But once I take that data and put it somewhere, like record it on my phone or whatever, it's great ideas that aren't useful at all.
Yeah.
So,
So I have a standing rule that people aren't allowed to tell me their stories. I mean, and they can, and I don't want to see a rough draft. And because I am surrounded, I'm absolutely surrounded by authors all of the time.
sure.
And swear to God, I've heard so many stories that never made it into print. So I'm like, 40 years of this. I've collected authors for a long, long time. And so I'm like, go write it. Don't tell me your story. Don't ideate with me. Get out. Get in front of your computer and get busy. So
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
yeah. So I'm kind
So,
of hardcore
we're
that way.
talking about I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm kind of hardcore that way. I'm like, sit your butt down in the chair and get busy. I mean, discipline is a thing. If you want your story out there, you need to write the story. So, as a self-employed creative, I know a lot about discipline and what it takes
Yeah,
to actually do the work and actually be successful. And I don't, I'm kind of hard nosed that way. When people come up and say, "Well, I'd like to be a writer," it's like, no, you talk about wanting to be a writer. If you were a writer, you'd be sitting down and writing and not telling me about it. So, yeah. So,
gotta do the thing. It's one of the doingest of businesses there is. You have to
yes.
do it. You can't get away with not doing it. You
No.
gotta do it. And
Yes.
that's hard. Actually, back
It
to
is.
the publishing thing, I mentioned this on Twitter yesterday, the day before, the biggest challenge I think of a publisher is to help writers fight through the mental challenges
Yes.
that prevent them from actually putting out content. Um, whether it's not believing in themselves, whether it's, getting down on themselves because they've had if you've heard me talk about reasons and excuses, I'm gonna do it again. We have reasons that we should adjust our expectations, and we have excuses that we should stop
Mhm.
using. And a
I need
reason
to
is your dad dies or your dog dies or you lost your day job or your life just got something bad happened in your life. An excuse is, I just wanna sit on the couch."
yeah.
The
Well,
the challenge to that is if you've just had a really busy time, and Gloria Korea calls this sharpening the axe, sometimes you need to sit on the couch to kinda recharge yourself, but if you do it too many times, it becomes an excuse. So it's a challenge to figure out which is which.
yeah, I mean, part of it is also that sometimes you need to rest your muscle and
Yeah.
exercise yourself creatively in some other way, right? So, but I will tell you, my mother went into hospice the week of my biggest show ever. And
Woof.
yeah, I was putting and we had a $275,000 show going on the stage, 75,000 of which was my budget, my costumes. And my mother went into hospice Monday of tech week.
Wow.
Yeah, and the point is, I didn't get to sit on the couch
No,
because I didn't get paid if I didn't deliver. And it doesn't matter if your mother's dying when you've got 69 costumes that have to be on bodies on a stage, so you figured out.
but I bet, I'm gonna guess, there was a reaction after you got through the thing,
Yeah.
after you after
Mhm.
you made the money, there was
Yeah.
a time where your productivity was down because you were reacting to the death of your mother. You were
Well,
reacting
yeah, plus, I mean, that kind of it's like when you finish a huge trilogy or something.
and
You've been
that too.
Yeah, when you've been working so hard I mean, I was a 2-year build on that show. It was 2 years of intensive effort of creating some really outrageous costumes that I mean, one costume had 600 silk butterflies sewn on it. So, I mean, so that I sewed on by hand myself, right? So, and that was just one of a truly outrageously difficult show. So I will say that the creative, serotonin they were squoze dry. So
Oh, yeah,
I needed some time to stop and just have some downtime after, and plus
absolutely.
also my mother was dying,
Yeah,
so but I didn't break the discipline to finish the show, because there's all those when you go to tech, there's tech weeks are horrific, but I mean, there's always that last minute push to get it over the top,
yep, yep, yep,
um,
yep. It's always
so
those things.
you have to find that last 10% in you to finish it. So, and also, I mean, part of it too is you have to have the discipline to get through the 2-year build,
Yeah,
So, and because you don't get paid, I mean, it's too easy to be the train wreck I see all the time is people decide they're going to be a full-time author. And which means they can do whatever they want whenever they want. It's like, no, you can't. You have to sit down and treat it like a job. And you need to commit to it every single day. You need to do the work every single day. And we are our own worst employees.
Yeah.
We absolutely are. And I've said this, I don't know how many times on how many podcasts, but you actually have to learn the discipline. Otherwise, you don't eat.
Right.
So,
And back to the reasons versus excuses.
yeah.
Um, there was a September, I think it was 2019, where I had come out of a summer where I had been to, like, 4 major events,
Hmm.
including Penzik, which is a
That's
two-week-long
huge.
adventure where I sell books. I had finished a novel, written 2 short stories. I'd spent more time in my tent than I had literally spent underneath my roof, and in those 3 months, I had done an amazing amount of work. I wrote probably somewhere around 80,000 words,
Yeah. Sorry for the
finished
jiggly
3
guys. My
separate
charger's
projects.
being weird. So,
So I
yeah.
got home and I gave myself 2 days to rest. Well, it turned into 3 weeks, and what happened is on the 3rd day, I was like, "Well, I didn't get anything done today. I'm a jerk." And on the 4th day, I didn't get anything done because I'm really a jerk. And on the 5th day, what kind of a jerk am I? Because I didn't get anything done, and it was all fatigue.
Yeah.
And then but after a week or so, it became fatigue and self-hate. And so that's where the reasons comes from. I had a reason to take a couple weeks off.
Yeah.
Just fatigue and sharpening the axe, like Larry calls it, and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And then it it took an extra week and a half to 2 weeks for me to pull myself out of it, and I look back and I see 2 weeks or so that I wasted simply because I didn't pay attention to the reasons in my life
Yes.
and drove myself down because of self-doubt and because of
Yeah.
all the things that most writers suffer through. So,
Well,
um,
any creative suffers through. Honestly, I think it's pervasive no matter what your art is. So,
yeah, I mean, let's talk about. I mean, I was going to ask about any differences that you see or anything special about the clothing creating process as opposed to the writing creating process.
well, like I said, time and chair makes a big difference. I mean, I have been sewing since I was 5 years old. I mean, I am 62. That's a lot of time. And I have a lot of people who look at me and go, "Oh, I really wish I could sew like you," or "Oh, I really wish I could write like you." It's like, how many hours have you been in the chair in front of the machine? Because the only way your craft gets better is by doing it.
Yeah,
I mean, the way you improve is by doing the thing, and it applies across to any art form that you're doing. I mean, Ed Sheeran couldn't sing at all. He just kept singing every single day until he got better. I mean, and same thing with sewing. I mean, I keep some of my early sewing things around because, I mean, when I had my laurel ceremony, which is when I became a Knight of the Arts in the SCA, my first costume in the SCA was a fur coat collar that I had taken off the coat and pinned to a Boy Scout belt, and 2 rabbit skin furs as the bottom, and I was a bunny fur bikini girl is in the SCA. I was much skinnier then. But I also, when I was made a laurel, I was in full-blown Elizabethan with
yep,
all the, beautiful work and everything, and I had my first costume held up in my court when I was made the laurel to prove that you do not spring fully formed from the ground as a major as Brandon Sanderson. You don't.
yeah,
You do the work. I mean, and every single day, if you have that thing in your head that absolutely has to get out, whether it be art, whether it be writing, whether it's with me, it's like I have a cape in the back of my head that's making me bananas right now. Um, your job is to figure out how to translate it into the real world.
yeah,
You have to find the skill to get it from the space behind your eyes onto the computer screen or onto the canvas or into the fabric. And to figure out the craft that allows that amazing thing you have stuck in your head
yeah.
out to wherever it needs to be. I mean, we are creatives. We're wired differently and we have to we are driven to do that. So you are doing yourself a disservice to one think you're not good enough because none of us are ever good enough
Yeah,
ultimately.
I've never finished a I don't know how many stories at this point I've published, through whatever means,
Yeah.
but I've never finished a story. I've written hundreds of SCA scroll texts. I've written
Yeah.
hundreds of poems, and every time I look at any poem, scroll text, ceremony that I've written, book, short story, whatever, I look at it and
Yeah.
go, "Oh, I could have done that better."
Well, of
Every
course.
single time.
I mean, I keep when I left the SCA, I sold off most of my stuff, but I kept iconic dresses from particular time periods in my sewing, so I could show people the development across it. I also have what I call my punishment pile of sleeves. So because sleeves are just the worst nightmare ever, because you'd think they'd be simple, but they're not. And
Yep,
so I have like this set of 9 sets of sleeves, so I can walk through them and show people how I learned from each set of sleeves. And I'm a big fan of keep your old stuff and go back and revisit it every now and then.
yeah.
Especially go read your writing from earlier, which will probably make most people absolutely cringe, but it shows you how much
Oh,
you've grown,
it
you
it
know?
it's both, um, distressing and delightful.
Yes. Yeah.
I re-edited, Lake Most Deep is my first novel. I re-edited it, um, and republished those novels.
Mhm.
I cut I added 4,000 new words and
Mhm.
cut, about 24,000 words out of
Yeah.
that book.
Yeah.
I didn't lose a single thing from the story. It was all the stuff that David Butler talks about in,
Yeah.
efficiency, like, I got up out of the chair, I walked across the room, I grabbed the door handle, I opened the door. How about I just open the freaking door, right?
Yeah.
And and
Hello. You can infer. Yeah.
and that's such a new it's such a honestly, for me, I do that a lot in my writing because in my head, I'm blocking everything out,
Yeah.
and I don't entirely know what of those motions is going to be the important one.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's actually my way of writing sword fighting is because my experience in the SCA means that I'm talking in my head as I'm doing it, angles of shots and the getting the
Yeah.
shield up and,
Mhm.
doing wrist movements, and so a lot of times in my first draft on these, they are filled with that sort of detail, and then I
Mhm.
go back and cut most of it out. I want a beat of specific detail and then a beat
Yeah.
of specific detail. I want that there to add the verisimilitude, but I don't
Yes.
want it bogged down, so that's one of the things that I do.
But
Uh,
rough drafts like that are so important. I mean, I do rough drafts.
Absolutely are.
When I'm sewing, I do rough drafts. I create
Yeah.
I'm like because you're trying to figure out you wanna pare it down to what is the essential part, but sometimes you just have to, like, vomit it. I said this to David better, it's like, "Just vomit it out on the page,"
Absolutely.
just because you can always clean out the chunks you don't need and fill that in. But yeah, I mean, that's what I do with Dickens Fair. For me, it's like exploring different versions of the same art. So, it's fun.
Charlie just said you can't edit a blank page, she's right.
No.
My mom has a sign up above her desk, my mom also writes, she says, "Write lots of bad sentences." I
Yes.
mean,
Doesn't
it's
matter.
all the
Just
same thing.
spit it out. So, yeah.
Alright. So, that's enough serious talk. How crazy are we gonna be at FinCon?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we are deliberately not working at FenCon. We don't wanna work because at Pecan very much became I set up my office in the bar and stayed there the entire time, writing contracts
You
and talking
did?
meetings and posts, and I was like, there was a party somewhere and I didn't get to go to it, and I'm not okay with that. So FenCon, Cedar, our, lead designer, is Toastmistress, so we're like, "Okay, time to go heckle Cedar," you know? So and also we just, we want a convention where Racketeer Press can go and we can just hang out and we can just meet folks and we can be in the bar and we can drink, we can be silly and who knows what'll happen, right? So I mean we are on panels. I know. I mean Ian is doing the no shit there I was, so law dog.
And
And
Courtney threw me under the bus on Sunday. I literally have 4 panels in a row on Sunday, and I'm moderating 2 of them.
well, we're on one together, Rob.
Yes,
We're
we
on
are. Yes, we are.
yeah, we're on the, scams and publishing one, which will
Yep.
be really fun with
I'm
Kevin.
moderating that one, so I'll be
So you get to be the moderator, lucky
yes,
you.
yes,
So
I'm moderating that one, and I'm moderating, uh, interplanetary propulsion. I'm actually really excited about that
oh,
one
yeah.
because, spoiler alert, I'm gonna be talking about both, some of the things or asking about both some of the things that we've got going on, like SpaceX, and what
Yeah.
might be coming down the road soonish, but also, let's see what science fiction can give us, can
Mhm.
inspire us to, right? So we're gonna
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about all that too. I'm excited about that one. I specifically asked to be on that one because I'm not an expert in that, but
Mhm.
I'm a fan and I wanna learn about it. So,
Yeah.
there we go. And I'm
Yeah.
doing a game. Wally set me up to play, some Axis and Allies tomorrow on Saturday, so I'll be
Nice.
doing a bunch of stuff, but when I can, I'll be at the bar
We're
and
just in the bar. I mean, the hotel looks like it's a new hotel for FanCon, and I was looking at the because I always go check out the bar. It's like, "What's the bar look like?" You know? So, are there big comfy couches that we can have, like, 20 people all in one spot? You know, because
yeah,
we tend to draw a
that's a great
crowd.
question.
Well, we tend to draw a crowd just because we like to have a good time and be silly and, and I don't have to worry about writing a contract the wrong way this time because 'cause I'm not doing it at this convention. And I can just hang out with people and just talk. Because LibertyCon is very much a work convention for us.
Yeah,
We spend, like,
me too.
16 hours nonstop working there. So, we want FanCon to just kinda be where just come hang out with us, come sit down and, have a drink and, "What have you read lately?" And I don't know if we'll get into duck fights or not. I'm sure some mayhem will occur spontaneously somewhere, um, which we're particularly good at. So,
It's gonna
well,
be a hoot. I'm really looking forward to it.
yeah,
Honestly, this has been on my I've been like, "Oh, come on, come on, come on." I've got a lot of stuff great stuff happening this year,
you
and
do,
side
yeah.
note, for those of you who are, going to be at Pecan, my wife is actually going to be joining me at Pecan.
Yay!
Rather, the lady the actress I hired to play my that's our running joke.
Well, I mean, I've had the mystery husband that
Yeah.
nobody ever saw, right? It's great that she gets to come play.
Yeah, we're gonna actually fly out from Dallas. This is at Pecan in September. We're gonna
Yeah.
fly out from Dallas to Italy.
You're going to Italy, we have to talk. I've been to
We do
Italy
have to talk.
5 times. We have to
Yeah,
sit down and talk about it, where you're going, and, we should talk FinCon. Now we have to, like, talk about it when you come to FinCon.
yeah.
So,
We're gonna have, a couple of days in Turin, a couple of days in Milan, Lake Como, a day in Verona, and a couple of days in Venice, and then we're gonna stay another 8 days. We're gonna have 4 days in Florence,
it's not enough,
probably
but 4
pop
days
off
is
to
good. Yeah.
probably pop off to Pizza, a day there just because or who knows, we may
Oh, you
just
should
take
go to
a day off.
Perugia. You should go to Perugia. It's just an
Oh,
easy train ride, and
yeah.
Perugia's got, like it's like 11th it's like 9th through 14th century stuff that is just amazing. You wanna
Oh,
go to
Northern
Perugia.
stuff then.
Yeah, you wanna go there. There's Byzantine and all kinds of cool things.
Oh,
So
I'll
Perugia's
definitely put that on the list.
it's one of
And
the
then
least
4 days
developed
in Rome.
cities. It's a good day trip. It's a good day trip. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, we could talk about Italy for quite a while because Italy is like I was supposed to go this year if I can afford it. We're gonna go stay in Orvieto
okay.
for 3 weeks and do side trips. There's also a crazy Italian writer who keeps sending us stories. His name is Sergio, and he lives outside of Florence. And I desperately want to meet this guy because he's just like amazing. I mean, he's oh Lord. Um, but yeah, I mean, but we should talk about Italy for
We
sure
will,
because
we'll talk about it anyway.
yeah.
And I'm gonna come back knowing Italian wines. That's one of my goals to learn
Okay,
Italian
I can get you
wines.
started. I can get you started on Italian wines, and I can also give you some really great restaurants in Florence because Florence is my second home. So
Well, I'm excited.
yeah.
Now here's another thing I'm excited. I've been wanting to ask you this question.
What?
If you were a pro wrestler, what would your wrestling name be? What's your signature move? And then as a twist, describe your costume.
Oh, okay. Well, I think my wrestler name would be Dame Fifi.
Dame Fifi. Coming off
Yes.
the top rope, Dame Fifi.
So what would be my signature move? Um, Eyebrow of Doom. Super Eyebrow of Doom. Um, because you can do a lot with the Super Eyebrow of Doom. And my costume would involve pink spandex. Yeah, I mean, I think, clearly I would lean heavily into Elizabethan with that because, what better entrance than with a giant, big supportas full of spiky things all over it, And right, I mean, you have this giant supportas over the back that had, like, spiky stuff all over it. And then, and a really amazing huge ruff that was black with with studs,
This is
over,
brilliant.
a spink well, I mean, hello, if you're gonna do it, right? I mean, and
WWE
lots
needs
of
to
love.
hear about this. You may have a future.
Well, I mean, I think I need to have knee-high boots, that are black leather with, folded over cuffs and spiky shit with pink racing stripes up the sides, and so
I'm down.
I could have some fun with that. I mean, it's gonna be okay. So yes, and I would do one of those like turn, and the whole support house would turn with me, and I would just like do the eyebrow doing it somebody. So that would be fun.
That's
So
awesome. That would be fun.
and we didn't even get to Andre Norton's birthday.
Well, we're not quite done yet.
Okay.
Guys, I'm gonna get into Andre Norton's birthday here in just a second. But if you've got any last minute questions, toss them into the chat and we'll fire them away. But we're getting close to the end, and but toss out any last minute questions. As we just mentioned, it's Andre Norton's birthday,
Yeah,
and
birthday.
I've got this great. Here's a perfect
Yes.
example. Uh, Darn the thing being backwards. I probably could fix that. I figured
No,
that
it's
out.
okay. We can see it the right way. So
Yep, but this is one of the ace doubles with 2 of
yes,
hers, and this one
Beastmaster.
has seen the days. I mean, my dad had
Yeah,
this, and it's been read a lot. But,
because
like, look at the price, 35 cents for 2
well,
Andre Norton.
there were no women in science fiction before 2000, right?
Right,
So
right. No women at all. I mean, Lee Brackett was a guy, clearly,
of
and Andre
course, and
Norton.
Seal Moore,
Yeah, and
so
let's not forget Susan Cooper,
I mean,
who was
right?
a
So
huge inspiration to me,
yeah,
and, I mean,
no, but Andre Norton, she's one of the ones I read too.
yeah,
When
yeah,
Beastmaster was
she's
one of
one
my
of my
early.
favorites. Witch World, Star Hunter, I read there, but I didn't read it until after I read, the collection of Star Hunter and Star, Guard, which the thing
Yeah.
about Star Guard that's really interesting to me is that predates Starship Troopers
Yes.
and Dorsai.
Yes, it
And
does.
so it is maybe one of, yes, the Darkest Rising series, it's
Yes.
amazing
That's
series, I
so
love that
good.
series.
Yes.
But Starguard is almost pure, like, I wouldn't say pure. It's got a lot of space opera in it, but it's got a lot of military science fiction in it,
Yes.
and it's years before
Yes. Mhm.
Starship Trooper, and it's years before Dorsai, which are 2 of the big
Yes. Yes.
starting points for military science fiction. So, it's quite easy to say that Andre Norton is one of the founders of military science fiction, and people
Absolutely.
don't talk about her in that sense.
Well, I think she's a little bit forgotten, but which is kind of sad because
Yeah,
her works were foundational in a lot of ways. So, and foundational for me too, just because, hello,
yeah.
I mean, when you were Andre Norton was one of those you just it was ubiquitous. You just read Andre Norton. That's all there was to it. So,
She was my dad had Asimov and he had Norton and I
yeah,
got into, Space Cadet was my first. You talking about Pod Kingdom Mars, Space Cadet was
yeah.
my first of
Basically, I read that one too. Yeah.
Heinlein Juveniles, and it still holds up. I read it, I don't know, about 6 months ago, and
Yeah.
it's still amazing.
Podkane was a very different novel as an adult for me.
Yeah.
It was like
I haven't read it in a while. Maybe I'll pop it up.
yeah, it's kind of fascinating to see, through the child's eyes that and the story from the adult perspective was like, wow. And I think I need to go back and reread some of the Andre Norton because I'm sure I will have a different perspective now.
Yeah. Which
So
World still holds up.
yeah,
Starguard and Star Hunter really hold up. I mean, generally speaking, her stuff holds up. There's so much of it that is like what you can't see over here is I have shelves full of Galaxies and Astoundings and Ifs and all of those magazines,
yeah.
and her stuff is in those a lot.
You know what? You
And
go poke
it
that button on Ben Yallow. Poke the
oh,
Andre Norton
yeah.
on Ben
Yep.
Yallow because he'll be there at FenCon. So
Yeah.
so we should do that
Yeah,
because Ben,
we should
I'm
have
sure
an
will
Andre
have all
Norton Fest.
he'll
Yeah,
just have
she's
so
amazing.
many great things to
Yeah.
say. So, but yes, we should toast. I don't have scotch or anything with me, but I will definitely toast it.
Yeah,
Andrew,
well,
yay!
I'll have
Mm.
my flavored water. My bourbon's out of reach.
Yeah, mine's way over there. So
Yeah. I'd have to, like, get up and get off my ass and
I know, right? What's with that?
who's gonna
You're
expect that of me?
you're in front of your computer. Why would you leave? So, so
Yeah, I actually do have a bottle of bourbon by my reading chair because that's where I'll read I'll drink bourbon. I don't drink often, but having a bourbon, a nice bourbon, currently it's Oak and Spire, while I'm reading something, especially if it's an old science fiction thing, there's just something right about all that.
There really is. I mean,
Yeah.
there's something about sitting with the physical book and having sipping a nice whiskey, and I have a couple of bourbons I'm gonna bring with me that need to be finished off. I mean,
I
so
I could bring some bourbon. Anyway, this is what I'm reading. I
mhm,
don't see any questions, so I'm gonna go ahead and start wrapping this up. If
mhm.
you, um, what anything that I have should have asked but didn't, that you wanna add?
Ew, careful with those questions. Well, I don't know. I mean, we could go for another 3 hours pretty easily just because we just,
We've proven that because 'cause
we're
we've
like
done it.
skipping stones across the top of all of these incredibly deep, fun topics, right?
Yeah,
So, which is why we go to the bar, so we can have these big, long conversations about all these different things. So if you see us in the bar somewhere, and you remember something, it's like, "I'd like to learn more about that stuff," come talk to us. And honestly, both of us, we both love to natter on endlessly. Be careful
absolutely.
which buttons you push, right? So
Hardwick did pop up with a question
oh,
that I don't have a good answer for because I don't know enough yet, and his question is, "Do you think
yes,
Substack is a good place to self-publish
yes,
short stories?" I don't know.
yes. So Ernest Semper, who's on here, writes his name is Parrish Baker, but he writes under Ernest Semper. There's quite a few authors that are doing paid content for paid subscribers where they publish short stories that are only for their paid subscribers. So you can actually make significant money on Substack if you build your audience well for that. I mean, there's quite a few people doing really well with that. They're also doing chapters of their novels, and it's like a mini version of Royal Road that
Okay.
but you have total control over it and you keep all the money. So
And I've been
so
really
it's
impressed with what I've seen with Substack, which is one of the reasons why I'm
yeah.
enjoying doing this.
Yeah, Substack, right? We've discovered a lot with our Substack that we have to do some I'm gonna have to have our Substack down for a little bit because we have it's gone through the roof and we need to sort into our anthologies and novels and boys book audiences so people aren't getting the fire hose of information that we send out every single day.
Right.
Because
I
we're
mean, there are a lot of posts, and I'll be honest, I read about half of them because so
I
many of them
know,
come
right?
out.
And so we discovered that Substack, you can have your audience select what posts they want to receive.
Oh, nice.
You can section them off, and so we're actually going to redo it so people can choose to only get the voice book info, or everyone will get our weekly update and our general articles, but they can choose whether or not they want to get the boys stuff or the anthologies and the novels, because we have a lot of information to share. What we just have to be better at refining it, and it's always a learning process. I mean, we've been learning, and we're like, "Whoa, this is a problem." So we need to come back and fix this. So yeah, David Betterina says that you should focus on one or two things for social media, and we obviously do Substack, and now we're focusing on X. And Substack, we're like, we are not using this tool the way we should be.
And
So
I'm just now sticking my
yeah,
foot in the water. I mean, I've done
yeah,
this is the 3rd podcast, the 4th podcast I've done,
yeah.
counting the introductory one, and
Yeah, so, I mean, so we should talk about
yeah,
the various tools that we've discovered,
yeah,
and we're happy to share that information, honestly, but Substack can be huge for you if you want to build an audience, and part of it too is how you build that audience, but we can have a whole discussion about that. So yeah, so, I mean, and also understanding your layout and what information you put in, and how you do your hashtags, which we have learned we've been doing all wrong. So so
well,
yeah,
I'd like to learn that. There's
yeah.
lots of this that
So
I don't know.
yeah, so we're like we almost have 3,000 subscribers and we have something like 3,500 followers. And we've realized that we have three separate audiences. So we have to adjust for those audience. Actually four, because we have novels, boys books, anthologies, and then we have writers.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and because we have a huge writer following. And so if we can separate out some of that, and make it more effective. Because if we're all just trying to figure this out as we go, right? So
And it dawns on me as you're talking about that, when I just came over to Substack, I brought my mailing list with me
yeah,
because you don't have to be a member, you don't have to pay anything to be a mailing list, and most of those stayed, which I really appreciate everybody who
yeah,
stayed on my mailing list. But one of my concerns about this is that I'm now doing 2 things a week. I'm doing my mailing list update,
yeah,
and I'm doing these podcasts, and
yeah.
I worry I don't wanna inundate them with too many things, so maybe one
Mhm.
of the things I'll do is I'll is I'll, set up a way for them to pick either the
Yeah,
or both, the mailing list,
it's creating sections. So,
yeah.
well, I'll show you how that works when we go
Well,
to
it's great.
FinCon. So,
We'll talk about this. Hey, at FinCon, where we'll
yeah,
be,
we'll be in like 3
will
days.
in
So,
less than 48 hours, I will be in that bar.
yeah. So, are you coming showing up Thursday?
Yeah, showing up
Oh, yeah,
Thursday.
because it's the pre-con. Everybody shows up on Thursday, right?
And for new writers, let me tell you, if you're going to conventions, the best professional development decision you can make is to go to conventions the night before they start, because you'll get the publishers like Jonna or Chris Kennedy
Yeah,
or Scott Tackett from Three Ravens or,
yeah.
um,
We also
uh,
it used to be we show up at LibertyCon and it'd be like 30 of us on Thursday, and now everyone shows up
it's
on
like
Thursday.
300.
Well,
And
and it's
and
because 'cause we're not busy that day. We don't have any panels or anything,
and
and we have the
we're
time.
excited still. We're not exhausted. We don't have we're not running to I love to talk, but I'm on a panel in 2 minutes and I gotta
Yeah.
pee.
Well, and also, it's by Sunday night. I'm actually kind of an introvert, which is
Yeah,
probably not obvious, but I am. I mean, I don't
same
mind
here.
talking to people, but it wears me out. And
Yeah,
by Sunday night, I'm stabby. So I don't want to talk to anybody on Sunday night. And I usually stay over till Monday because I just can't, I need the sleep of Sunday night so I can
yeah,
actually have the energy to go home on Monday. But Thursday and Friday mornings are like the time
yep,
to come and meet people and talk with folks because we actually have time,
yeah,
you know? And if you show up with a bottle of water or something else, it's a really great way. He's like, "Hi, this is my name, and I would love to talk to you sometime about this. When is a good time for you?" Is the best approach.
yeah. Or just
Yeah.
sit there. I mean, I can't tell me when I
Yeah.
was new, a lot of times I'd go sit where the LibertyCon,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
John Ringo and Sarah Hoyt and,
Yeah.
Travis Taylor or, any
Mhm.
number of authors that I've read their stuff, and I would just sit and bask and listen, and
Yeah.
then every once in a while, they would they would try to include me, and I would have to think,
Oh my
and
god, they're
find out
talking
what
to
I've
me.
learned.
Ah.
Well, yeah, there's certainly that, "Oh my god, they're talking to me. Ah," but there's the that really was a great sort of quasi apprenticeship. So
Yeah.
for new writers, I suggest you always go to conventions and hang out at the bar with, or in the, con suite with,
Well,
depending
yeah, I
upon
mean, just find where they're gathered,
yeah,
and the most important thing is to listen.
yeah,
I mean, very often we get people who wanna tell us all about their magic system, and David and I were talking about this on his podcast. It's like, "I don't wanna hear your magic system. I wanna know that you actually are an adult who understands basic courtesies and you take a shower, and
yeah,
because and that that I wanna know that you can behave in a professional way." But I give people a lot of leeway because cons are training grounds for geeks,
yeah,
it's where you learn, right?
and the
And
SCA too,
oh, yeah.
yeah. I mean, and truth is that as geeks, we probably have some we haven't had all the opportunities to
No.
to learn these social things. The
Yeah.
the BarCon, the Thursday night BarCon is really
It's
important.
always worthwhile. Even if you just sit near a group that's talking, it's amazing, the
Yeah,
stuff. I mean, that you can learn, you can watch, hear editors talking with their authors, you can hear, like, crazy ideas generated, and then, yeah, a year later, you'll see them appear, I mean, the energy and the happiness. Plus, it also made it well, so we actually got Laudon drunk at a small convention and convinced him that he told him that he'd agreed to do an anthology. Um, which is how
it's a
we ended up.
trap.
Well, I mean, it was kind of planned because we were doing kind of scotch tasting and people kept pouring stuff into my cup and I kept pouring it into his because he was sitting next to me. I would take a sip and I'd pour it in his, and so anyway, and then we told him afterwards that he'd agreed to do Space Cowboys. So, which was our fourth, fifth book. So, and
And it's BarCon that got me started on the publishing side, which got me into the editing, which got me thousands of dollars. I
yeah.
was at LibertyCon, and Jamie Ibsen had just done
Oh,
an
yeah.
anthology, and he had gotten the anthology because 'cause he'd gone up to Chris Kennedy and said, "When are we gonna do an anthology on this?" And Chris
There you
said,
go.
"When you do it." And so I went up to Chris and said, "When are you gonna do an anthology on a fantasy anthology?" He says,
There
"When
you
you
go.
do it." By the time I left the bar that night, I had Dave Butler signed up, I had Cedar signed up, I
Yeah.
had Scott Tackett signed up, I had Dave Butler signed up, I had
Mhm.
10 of the 14 10 of the, excuse me, 8 of the 10 authors that would be in it
Yep.
signed up
That's how it
before I
happened.
left the bar.
I mean, that's how things happen. I mean,
Yeah.
I watched Casey Azell pitch an entire, book series to John Ringo on Ringo's porch at LibertyCon, and Chris Smith was sitting there, and they were just brainstorming out this whole book, and it was just so much fun to watch. It was so much fun to watch it happen, and I was like, "Okay," and then, of course, what happens? The book appears, so but that kind also that it's just so rich to be in that kind of a
It's a
it
very fertile environment.
it's just so much fun to be around all those creative brains bouncing off each other, and just digging and playing, "Well, what about if we did?" I mean, so and watching people get excited,
Yeah.
or just get silly, or meet their icon, or
Or
it's just
all 3 in the in a 10-second chunk.
yeah, right? And it's just like, "Wow." So, yeah, Mike and Nick got thrown into the deep end of the pool, because we at MarsCon, and they were, like, big fans of Larry's, and I walked into the bar and plunked them right down to next to Larry and Jason Cordova and stuff, and they're like, "Oh my god."
I
That was fun.
remember my first LibertyCon, Jason Cordova, was extraordinarily kind to the geek who didn't know anything. My
Mhm.
first con as trying to be a professional, sitting there
Yeah.
trying to learn and having made tons of mistakes already at that point. But he was like, well, I've got some scotch. Let's go get some scotch and then let's go back, hang over here." He was like, "Is that okay?" Because there's like Ringo and Taylor and all that. It's like, "Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great." And again, you
Well,
hit it, like, just be
yeah.
polite, go sit by these people and be quiet, and
Yeah.
sooner or later, um, they'll they'll realize you're there,
Yeah.
and they'll include you into sort of the mental energy,
Yeah.
and even before that, you will have gotten a ton of cool stuff, so
Yeah. I mean,
with and listen.
I have gone to conventions. I mean, I was a West Coast girl, and I went to conventions all up and down the West Coast, and I was very lucky. I was in the era of, early science fiction. I mean, I met John Varley, who just recently passed away, and he had first Saturday of the month parties, and his house in Eugene was like the north-south
Excellent
stopover.
writer.
Yeah, I mean, the second party I went to at his place, I walk in the living room and Harlan Ellison sitting on his couch, and but also Herb John Bartley was a very shy man, and he would go to conventions, and my friend Becky and I were like being on either side of him, so because we could talk to people for him, because he just didn't know how to talk to people, very shy, and got into all these parties with all these amazing authors, and Ted Sturgeon came to Eugene to die, so I got to spend 2 years around Theodore Sturgeon, so yeah, I mean, and just because I happened to be in the right place and I was polite and listened a lot, and why wouldn't you in that group? Spider Robinson came, and when Herb and Spider were trying to work together and found out that they could not mesh their styles at all, which was kind of fun. But I got to sit around and listen to him play songs and tell puns and had the perfect Irish coffee. He brought coffee and made Irish coffee and everything. And but if you're just in the proximity of these people, also a lot of people then who were nobody are somebody now.
Absolutely.
A lot of people I knew way back then. I mean, I kind of feel like with Racketeer Press that we've found that next group of
Oh, yeah.
who's going to be the next Budge. I mean, I really feel like, well, also you guys. I mean, there's a bunch of very young, really talented, amazing authors that's the next generation that's gonna be doing this. So y'all need to be getting together and having fun
Absolutely.
and bouncing off each other and talking to each other, and because it was that back then we didn't have internet. The only way we got to actually see people in person was at conventions, and the creative energy was insane, and it still is that way.
Yeah.
So and that kind of stew is so I mean, I had my Tuesday coffee group with a professional storyteller and a Disney Imagineer and a sculptor and painter and me, and we'd all get together and just be silly at coffee on Tuesday mornings.
And yet, the silliness undoubtedly improved all of your creative endeavors.
Yes. I don't know about the sculpture about the snail, and we got off on this tangent once about snails as trapeze artists. And we were like, how would they wear their tiny little singlets? And when they stuck together, would it be like, as they pulled apart, and we just went. I mean, it got so silly. And my friend Dawn started drawing the whole thing. And then Nadia actually made a sculpture of two snails sticking together as trapeze artists in their little stripy singlets. And it completely lost its mind.
It's
So,
no weirder than the illumination on medieval texts with snails blowing trumpets out their ass.
exactly, right? Now, you bet they were drinking and having a good time at a party of a bunch of illuminators in the evening.
I
So,
bet.
yeah. So I think it's really important that people get out, no matter how much of an
Yeah.
introvert you are, and be around other people who live in that same creative space, because it's amazing what can be generated from that. Amazing. So go do it, you know? And we're a friendly bunch. If we're busy, we'll tell you. At least I will, because I'm really good at that. Um, so,
And in
well,
fact, you did it. You did it, Pecan. I was like listening and talking about possibly doing stuff, and we were having a good time, and it came point that you said, "Okay, we have a business thing we have to do. Can I,
yeah.
can?" And I was like, "Great, I've had fun. I'll go elsewhere."
Well,
And
yeah, because I mean, I had a
that's the way it
stack
works.
of meetings lined up, and it was like, I have a meeting now. I want to keep talking. Can't do it right now, though. So, but we're also, don't be afraid to come up and say, hey, but you have to tell me your name like 4 or 5 times, because I'm really bad with names. I will remember you visually and what you were wearing, but it's really hard for me to actually remember people's names. So it's like,
I'm
hi.
exactly the same way. I may very well
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
um specific time I met you, like the entire picture of the time. Can't remember your name. Heck, in the SBA, I was squired to a guy and was squired to him until I became a Laurel. This is not quite a marriage level of commitment to someone, but it is not far away from that kind of commitment. And there are times and I'm like, my knight, whose name I can't freaking remember right now, that I've known for 20 years. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it's like my second husband. I kept going, and this is my husband. And he'd say Tim. So
I state your name.
it's a simple name. You think I remember? I had a guy bounce up to me at LibertyCon and going, "Hi," and I'm like, and I said, "And who are you?" He said, "I'm Mike," and I said, "Which one?" So, because I don't, I just, and if I've met you online, I don't know what you look like. I'm just, but say hi, because I will probably go, "Oh yeah, we got into that Twitter fight together."
And it was fun. You were
It was
still
fun, we
wrong,
had a
but
good
it was fun.
time. So, yeah, but I mean, it's the stew is really important, it really is. I mean, and it's even if you do find it exhausting to be around people, it's still incredibly important to do that. I mean, David Batterian was just talking about this on Kristen McTiernan's, podcast, that it's essential. I mean, not just for business and marketing, but also just for your creative space. So, needs to happen. So
Uh, yeah, we've run 20 minutes longer than I anticipated because we got off on a really important tangent. I
yeah,
mean,
you said an hour, and I was like, "Oh, you sweet summer child. That's not gonna happen."
well, I'm firmly aware that if I say an hour and it ends up being less than 2, I've probably, I'm within an order of magnitude, and I'll just call that a win.
No,
Uh,
we have a good time talking. I mean,
yeah, we do.
yeah. So, I mean,
We'll have
and
to do this again.
well, I've spent
I'll
2
come up with different questions. Maybe
yeah.
we'll do this, and by that point, you'll have made your wrestling costume.
Well, no, I don't have time for that because I have to make 50 capes for Dickens Fair. We didn't even talk about Dickens Fair. So, yeah. So,
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll talk about, something down the line,
yeah,
maybe
we can.
before FriendCon next year.
Yeah. I
That's
mean, we could chat more. I mean, yeah, because I mean, it's actually kind of nice because I've spent the last 2 weeks face down in paperwork because we're writing a bunch of contracts right now for the rest of the year, and so I'm trying to get it all done, and each one is like, working through all the detail and everything. I don't think people understand how much the paperwork matters and how
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't get things, and just the level of detail that's required with all of the back end of publishing. I mean, I and and it's like, and the weird nitty things that come up. And when you're running 3 separate lines, the anthologies and the boys' books and the novels, each one has a different requirement. So I've had 2 weeks of nonstop face down in the paperwork.
And it's detail work and
Yeah.
I did okay, but I made a lot of mistakes at that and, had to recover several times. I had to ask, for new signatures or stuff like that because it's
Mhm.
difficult.
Yeah, I mean, and that's my job, is to make sure that's all right, so I can make sure that everybody else can just do what they're doing. And, plus, I'm also trying to get it all done because I don't wanna do any work, thank God. So,
I'd already done that math.
yeah, I just don't wanna. So, and I have a couple of things that, so I'm just, oh, girl needs to play. Girl needs to play. So,
Girl needs to
uh,
play.
yeah, so I'm gonna go play. It'll be fun, and I'm sure.
Hardwick sorry, I just wanna go back to Hardwick. I saw you asked a follow-up question. I
Yeah.
I think you got some of the answers there. I don't know that we have time to talk about it more tonight, but I do think that, you'll hear me talking more about Substack and what you can do with it. Sure Raconteur will be talking
Yeah.
about it.
You know
Uh,
what? I mean, really, it's weirdly enough, I used Grok to ask questions about what to do with Substack.
huh?
Honestly. I mean, and they do have a really good help function, but I go to Grok and say, "Okay, well, I've got this thing going on, and I don't know what I could do on Substack to solve this." And it'll go search all of Substack for you and come back and tell you. And then, which is how I figured out the sections part, because I was like, "How do I do this so I can not be fire hosing, but still get the information out to the people I need to get out?" But, "Oh, well, do sections." And I'm like, "And what are those?" Because it's not intuitive. Substack is great, but a lot of their work, their structure is not intuitive, and a whole bunch
Yeah,
of
I was just
people
gonna say
want you to pay them money to learn those things, when you can just go ask Grok on X and say, "How do I do this?" And it will tell you. So,
and to be fair, I wanna point out something about Substack that I really have to give them some props. Um, when I started this a month ago,
mhm.
I couldn't set up a live stream on my computer. I'm actually doing it on my computer now.
Yeah, because normally it's only on your phone.
2
So,
weeks ago, I could set it up on my phone and then open it on my computer. So that's what I did.
oh,
That's what I did, last week.
that's a good idea.
I set it up, scheduled it, which that I'm not sure when they added that feature. It was not too long ago, but I added scheduled it on my phone and then did it here. This last week, literally since last Tuesday to this Tuesday, they added the feature that you can set it up and schedule it on your desktop.
Yeah, that's new. Yeah.
And like and now pretty much I'm gonna be asking every guest to please make, a basic Substack,
Yeah.
account
So,
because a
yeah.
guest has to be a Substack member. That's the one drawback about this. But
Mhm.
compared to, um, all the other live stream options out there, this
Mhm.
has been the easiest one. It's been
It's a
the
good beginner one. It really is.
yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
um, it's essentially free. We're driving content to them, but and they're
Mhm.
making money off of me right now.
Okay.
But we can make money off this. It's entirely possible in a year after I've developed an audience that I may turn this into, a paid feature or I
Oh, yeah,
started
you
adding paid
can.
content.
You can. Well, there's another quick hint too for Substack, is there's a notes option. You see it up on your thing. We have, and I'm a big fan of posting silly memes and silly things that relate to writing and just ridiculous stuff.
And it
We
doesn't get sent to every subscriber. That's
No,
one of
it
the
just
things
goes
I
on
like.
random feed across all of Substack.
Yeah,
I've had some up that I get 800 likes on,
yeah.
and we've gotten an enormous amount of subscriptions just from our notes feature. So, I mean, explore your notes feature and go, look at your notes feed. A lot of it is like, can I get one more thing? We don't do that. We do incredibly silly things that are funny that revolve around writing, or silly jokes, or silly science fiction things, or Calvin and Hobbes, because wow, we are so Calvin.
Hey,
Um,
I just posted on my Twitter, which to be honest, tends to be where I post that silly stuff more
yeah.
often. But I just, posted retweeted Gene the Dancing Machine from the Gong Show If 2 minutes
Yeah.
of Gene Gene the Dancing Machine doesn't brighten your day, I got nothing for you.
Yes. Well, then you need to go put it on your notes too, on your
Yeah,
Substack.
I should. Yeah.
Yeah, because notes is just a general feed where you can just it's like a discovery feed.
Damn,
And
Parrish.
what? Yeah,
Look on the
see, Parrish,
chat.
I mean, he's rocking it. He's doing great
Yeah.
stuff. So, I haven't gone back and looked at some of our early ones, Parrish, but we I just keep doing it. I just keep posting fun, silly things, and because why not?
Why
I mean,
not?
it's also a great way to show your personality
Yeah.
of who you are. And boy, I mean, I'm sure people think Racket Press is psychotic, and they're not wrong. Because we are. I mean, it's just
But I
for
think it's very important when you're doing social media, and this is sort of a general rule about my social media as a writer and my mailing list. One of the
yeah,
most successful things I was doing on my mailing list, uh, I've actually stripped out nearly all the advertising stuff on my mailing list. I talk
yeah,
about it a little bit, but my mailing list is now pretty much just what I'm doing in a given week. Now, if what I'm doing
yeah.
in a given week involves writing a new book, sure, I'll mention that, but I'm also
Yeah.
talking about
Well, they wanna know who you are.
yeah. I've got
Yeah.
a grandkid now. I'm talking about all the fun stuff we're getting to do
Oh,
with the
you got a
grandkid.
grandkid, that's right. Yeah, 'cause
Yeah,
I got 2 grandkids. So, but yeah,
best
I
thing
mean,
ever.
it's like Wally. Wally's an incredibly interesting guy, and he kept
Yeah,
posting about his book. I'm like, "Wally, stop it." I mean, because he does all this cool gaming stuff, and, what really is funny is that Wally played tuba in the marching band. And Jonathan Cohn, who does really cool, book
yeah,
debut stuff,
yeah,
he's such a cool guy. I wanna
yeah.
pinch his cheeks. He's just the most adorable thing. He's just, like, so cute. But both he and Wally played tuba in marching band, you know? And
We
it's like,
have to have a tuba off.
we have to have a tuba off. And he also helps he's a history teacher, and Wally's got all this amazing historical information and knowledge. It's like, share that. I mean, because his whole musical background is reflected in his amazing epic world building in his book, Muses War. So, so he's got his second one coming out soon. But it's how he got there with all of his musical influences. He's a bard in the SCA, you know?
Oh, is he?
Yeah. I mean, so
Jonathan?
no, Wally.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wally's a bard in the
I knew that. I'm sorry, I got confused. Yeah, I
Yeah,
knew
I
that
know,
quite
I
well.
switched tense there, not unlike some writers to make me crazy, but, so it's like, but it's like, talk about yourself because you may live inside yourself and think you're pretty boring. Because I think I'm a pretty boring person. I really
Had a
do. I mean,
4-hour conversation in Las Vegas that proves otherwise.
well, I know, but the point is, I live inside that knowledge,
Yeah.
and for me, is I'm just like, here's this weird woman with, an odd collection of strange things, and people for the most part aren't, but so I don't think I'm all that interesting, and that's
But
the problem
people
is,
do wanna hear,
but
from
the
me. They
point
do
is,
wanna hear me talk about
yeah,
Rush or my granddaughter
yes,
and
right?
sports and history. They do wanna hear those
Yeah, they
things.
do wanna know those things. I wanna know who you are and what influences led to your writing,
Yeah. Mm.
because yeah, so, I mean, and everything I am is yeah, I reflects in what I make, so, it's just my language is fabric, it's just not words, so
I started writing as a poet. In the SCA, I started
yeah,
writing
yeah,
poetry in the SCA. Not entirely true. Before I got in the SCA, I was doing academic writing, but when I started writing fictional stuff or things that were not academic writing, it was poetry.
yeah,
And one of the first lessons I had to learn as a writer is to be careful how poetic my language is.
yeah,
My first editor, who I actually saw this weekend, her name's Colleen. She would consistently say, "This is you have gone poetry essentially for the last 1,000 words. It may be written in a prose form, but the language you're using, the pacing, the rhythm, and all that, it's there.
yeah,
You need to stop doing that, and you need to get back to simple declarative sentences, or you need to change it
yeah,
up." And so that
mhm,
was a huge lesson for me. Was it was either writing academic style or
mhm,
poetic style, and that was
y
a pretty jarring. And I had to shave the edges off of both those.
yeah, yeah, you have to find your voice, so, I mean, and it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so Wally, yes, you're wonderful in person, and Wally will be there. He's also an incredible game master, so
He is.
yeah,
I had a lot of fun, playing D&D with him last, was it I guess it was Pecan, and,
Mm.
Because that was one of the modules that I had edited for the Ocarine thing for with Gygax. Um, and, so that was kind of neat to be producing a module that then I got to run at a con. That's pretty
How
neat.
cool is that,
It is
right?
pretty darn cool. So yeah, it's neat to be we're people, we've got experiences, and the more depth, I think it's really important in our social media to be people, be really real people, not
Yeah.
simply a caricature of this writer who buy my book, buy my book, buy my book.
Yeah.
That gets tedious. Nobody wants to hear
Yeah.
that time.
I mean, one of the issues we're running into with marketing is because we're running into the issue of, okay, I mean, our anthologies kind of have their own thing because it's like a magazine, right?
No.
But how do we not overwhelm people with, saying, "Oh, this book is coming,"
And you have
and
to do it and people the
yeah,
marketers say that you have to see it 7 times,
yeah,
which given the fact let's assume that you've got a 50% hit rate on average,
yeah,
you gotta do it 14 times, but the
yeah,
truth is that some of those people are gonna get 14 or 13 or 12, and by the time you get to over 10, I'm sure that I mean, I know I'm just like, "Yeah, yeah, I freaking got it." I mean, shut up about it, and you get diminishing
yeah.
returns. It's
Well,
challenging.
something we recently switched to, because I was thinking a lot because we have 10 boys books out now. We have 2 more in the pipeline about to come out, and then 5 more we're contracting. And we're starting to see themes that run through them. As Cedar was brilliant in her, and Chris is going to be equally as brilliant
Yeah, I'm
in
gonna talk
what.
to Chris Note about the one I've submitted,
Yeah,
see if that's ever
yeah. I mean,
that's
oh, that's a fun one. I got to tell you. But something we're running into is like the why of it matters more, because what we're trying to do is give boys books that teach about resilience and grit and learning to fail and getting back up and dealing with your fear and facing it with courage and making mistakes, big
and all the
ones.
things that were in the Highline Juveniles.
Right, same thing. So I essentially, pulled together, 3 books and said, this these are the important skills that boys need to learn, and they can learn it through experience that's happening in these books. And so we posted a couple articles like that. We're talking about the various themes that are present in those, and those ones, because it's important to us. I mean, that's who we are in our boys' books, right? That's the thing what we're trying to emphasize is true, things that help create good men,
Yeah.
right? So
And not for nothing,
yeah.
we both know that girls will read the young boys' books as
Oh yeah, I
well,
did,
and many of those same things are just as important for I
It
mean,
absolutely is,
yeah,
right? So, and a lot of people are like, "Well, why aren't you doing girls' books?" It's because there's thousands of girls' books,
yeah,
and the boys' books space is this. There's this much out there. So, sorry, we're going to go for the market where there's meat. But it's also the boys' books are incredibly important right now.
absolutely,
So, those articles actually just went wildly viral on X. Because we're reaching out to homeschoolers, and people are trying to teach their boys. They're trying to find quality reading. It's like Boy Against the Boxers historical, like yours is. I mean, so much fun. Which also is a great way to get boys interested in history. You
absolutely,
know, yeah. So, but if they can put themselves in it through a boy dealing with the circumstance,
absolutely. I
yeah,
can't tell you how many like, a lot of my historical love comes from
yeah. Trinity, I
those
hated
sorts
girls'
of
books, so
things.
yeah.
I mean, it's not for nothing that I became an Anglo-Saxon historian because I fell in
Hmm.
love with Anglo-Saxon poetry. How did I fall in love with Anglo-Saxon poetry? Well, my first taste of that was the Rohirrim in Tolkien. The
Yeah,
language I mean,
right.
so much of what's in that are
Yes.
literal translations of Anglo-Saxon poetry.
Yes.
There's a speech that Theoden gives, and it's "Where's the horse? Where's the rider?" This is a huge speech. It comes from The
Yes.
Wanderer. This is one of the most important speeches in all of English poetry. It falls under a specific category. It's talked about all the time. Wherequam merg, wherequam mago, wherequam
Yes.
mathemifa. Mathemifa, that word mathemifa, it's a compound word, matham. Yeah, remember the word matham
Yes.
from Tolkien, from The Hobbit?
Yes.
Matham Yifa, Matham gift. That's literally in
Yes.
Tolkien, and it's literally in
Well,
he
and it's
joins
so
it
rich,
totally from Old English.
yeah, I mean,
Absolutely not.
yeah, so that's the goal, honestly. And and I think that's a more interesting way to have people interested in your books. I mean, you talking about your love of this and how it translates into your writing,
Mhm.
and the why of, why you wrote this particular historical novel, which for boys, which I'm really excited about, and
That's
how
great to
it's
hear.
framed.
I haven't heard any feedback yet, to be honest.
Oh no, well, the nice part about being in the press and running the server, because I manage the server, is I get all these books ahead of time. So I'm like, oh yay, I don't have to wait. Sorry guys, but we have to have readers looking at them to make sure they're good, right? Um,
Well,
but
one of
yeah,
the things to bring it back around, I talked about Susan Cooper and someone Dark is Rising. The book I wrote, and I don't know how much you wanna talk about it here, but I wanna mention that I put a lot of Old English, actual
yes,
Old English snippets, um,
hmm,
into it
yeah,
because of the Dark is Rising series. If you remember the Dark is Rising series, she talks a lot of Welsh. She puts
yes,
Welsh snippets in there. She
yes,
explains how to pronounce Welsh. She does a whole bunch of things in there. I read this book in I read those books in 1980, 7th grade, library. I devoured them,
devoured them. Yes,
and from that point on, I was interested in Welsh, and from that point
yeah,
from Welsh, every language just suddenly became a
yeah,
huge fascination. So,
yeah,
it when I wrote this, one of my goals was to stick the Old English in there,
hmm,
and there's a translation, don't worry, it's all translated, but
hmm,
the point is that was all magical to me at that age,
isn't it?
and I wanted the space cadet energy and the magic of Dark is Rising, and even though this is not a fantasy or science fiction, it's a historical fiction, I wanted
Hmm,
that magic to be there, and those
yes,
were 2 of my exemplars that I read. I reread both as I was writing those books
yeah.
that book.
Yeah, I mean, and those kind of influences, I mean, if you tell people about that,
Yeah,
suddenly the book comes alive in their hands of the journey that you took to get the book out there. I think that's incredibly important. I mean, part of one of the things I love about going to Dickens Fair is people will come up to I have a very specific style. I make Victorian short capelets. Each one's a work of art. I don't repeat. I get to do, and I'm influenced by the period designs because they're just astonishingly beautiful. And I'm still striving towards the level of art that happened in the Victorian times
sure,
with that. But people come up and they're like, yeah, and I just wait for the owners to turn up because obviously I've made them for somebody. I just have
right,
the right person has to put it on. And there's always a story that goes with each individual one because I'm usually influenced by something I saw in history or one that I own because I have a lot of
yeah,
Victorian capelets in my own collection. And I get to talk to people about the sewing techniques and the structure and how you do the lacing. And so the history of the making, because I sew when I'm sitting there, I sit there and I'm doing all the handwork on the capes. And so I get to have these wonderful conversations with people about elegance and how people have a right to feel beautiful in their clothing and how fit and shape matters and how I won't sell them online because I can't make sure it fits, and the structure and the history of that particular garment could because capes have been around since man first put on fur.
absolutely.
I
It's
mean,
the easiest thing to do.
and the Victorians pretty much were the height of that particular art form, and what they did with it and the structure of it, so and they're incredibly complex for how simple they look and how they fit and drape over a pair of shoulders. So for me, they're a fun exploration of each one's an individual exploration of a little bit of history. And I get to impart that when I'm talking to people, which is great fun, because then they understand that it's not just a thing you put on and then throw on the floor when you're done. They understand the history that comes with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they're buying a piece they'll have forever, not just something that they're buying to wear to Dickens. So yeah, and people are constantly fascinated by it. They're like, "So how do you sew all these?" I'm like, "Yes, I do." It's like, "Where'd you get the fabric?" "I'm a retired costume designer." "Really?" So yeah, and having been a costume designer, I recognize how hard it is for people to feel comfortable in their clothes.
it is. I'm a
Yeah.
fat man, I struggle with that a lot, and yet
Well,
every once in a while I get the right tunic or the right
isn't
whatever.
it amazing when you find something that fits you or have something made that enhances you? I mean, one of the things I love about, someone will pick out a cape and I'll put it on them. I don't let them see until I have it all pinned up in the collar just right and it draped perfectly over their shoulders. And then I turn them around and face the mirror. And they do this like, oh, it's like, yeah, finishes the dress, doesn't it? You know, and then they're like, I hate you. Why? I have to give you my credit card now. So, well, but for me is,
But it's important. No,
but they
I
also
rock
understand,
completely.
but they feel beautiful.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman putting it on because I've
Hey,
put them on
theater.
both. Yeah. So yeah. So for me, that's explaining the history and the fit and the color and the drape and why it matters is why I do Dickens Fair because I get to have that personal connection with the people who have my capes and I've sold enough of them now that they appear they come back to visit every year. I've made over 400 of them and people know in I don't put tags on my capes because it doesn't matter that I made them. It doesn't I do have a very particular style. I mean, it's pretty clear that if it's one of mine. But in 10 years when I stop doing this, nobody's going to know who made those, but it doesn't matter because they're still in the world being beautiful. The beauty still exists in the world. So I don't have to have my name on it. I mean, there's no real concern for me that, they know that Jonna Hayden made this thing. The important thing is somebody feels beautiful in it
Yeah.
and that's the goal for me is that. So, but the ladies who walk around Dickens Fair, it's huge. There's like 7,000 people in there. They walk around and go, oh, yeah, you've got one of hers. I mean, it's very clear. And it's like this little private club anymore. So,
One of the greatest compliments I've ever gotten, and I've gotten it, I don't know, 15, 20 times at this point, maybe more.
yeah,
15 to 20 time, 15, 20 texts. It's happened and multiple times for a lot of them.
yeah,
I'll get I I don't do as many texts as I used to. I kind of pick and choose. It's gotta be personal to me anymore.
yeah.
But I've written a lot of scroll texts over the years. These are the
Mm,
in the SCA, you get an award, and a lot of times the award gets written a text get written specifically for you.
yes.
And so I write a lot of those texts. And I have a very particular style that's very like, I never write legal texts anymore. I only write poetic texts because legal
Hmm.
texts are done and done and done. Um, and I will routinely have a text read in court,
Hmm.
and people will come up to me, "I knew after 4 words. I knew
Yeah,
after the first line. That's a
yeah,
rodent."
yeah.
That is one of the greatest feelings
Isn't
ever.
that nice?
And they announce, wrote the scroll text, so and so did the calligraphy and illumination, and I'm really pleased, and it's the only time it gets read, and most of the time, unless I go to that person's house, I never see that scroll again,
Yeah,
but I'll get those people going, "I knew it was yours."
yeah. Then I should like
Awesome.
when you're in the neighborhood, you should come see my scroll box because I have a
Yep,
great big scroll box. So
yep.
of my laurel and my pelican and my the order summits and things, and I've got some really incredibly beautiful work. Uh,
I should I have put some of my scroll texts up, and I probably will
you
start
should do
sticking
that.
them on my Substack as, when it w for people who approve. I actually wrote a scroll text this weekend. My wife got an award before getting a Pelican. This is one of those
It's
weirdnesses.
so cool.
They trapped her into the Pelican announcement by giving her, an A&S award.
Ah, I love it.
Yeah, so I wrote the A&S award, and I wrote she's got an Italian 15th century Italian persona, so I wrote a Petrarchan sonnet,
Oh,
and,
nice.
uh, her SCA name is 14 syllables long. Thank God it's not 15 because Petrarchan sonnets are 14 or excuse me, 11 syllables long. Thank God it's not
Yeah.
12. Petrarchan sonnets are 11 syllables long on per line, 14 lines, and all these things. I
Uh-huh.
love writing poetry that has form. I love
Uh-huh.
writing Drottkvaet, which is a Viking form that has, 2 alliterations, maybe 3, then every 3rd line, there's an internal rhyme, and
Cool.
it's very detailed, 6 syllables per line, and I mean, it's very detailed stuff, and forcing the meaning into that structure, like, I used to write 7 of those sets, so 21 lines.
Nice.
That is 126 syllables I have to play with, and I have to include when I'm writing a scroll text,
Yeah.
date, location, crown, and why they're getting it, and all these
Yeah.
things. And so one of the things that it's interesting, kennings is a very important poetic use in Norse and Anglo-Saxon poetry. A kenning is like, an ocean might get called the whale road or something
Mm,
like that. It's a phrase that describes something. Well, those
nice.
poetic phrases have
Okay.
wonderful usages to create, the kinds of things for that you need for this highly structured poetry, and so
I
that's one
love
of
it.
the things that's used. Anyway, I
Yeah.
love writing that stuff.
Yeah. We can tell, right? Because you just lit up for that whole thing. It's just like wonderful to see that,
Yeah. It's
right?
fun writing poetry, and it's fun writing to
Well, you
these
know
weird
what? It's like
constructs.
you need to talk to Mike about this because Mike didn't realize he was a poet, and then he got attacked by giant counting robots. Literally got attacked. He should tell you the story of that at FanCon. And yes, Cedar, that was Henry. Henry's been voicing his disapproval this evening. So, but he always does that. But Mike ended up writing poetry, and now he's ended up writing songs with Suno and stuff. He and Cedar have been just having the best time writing
Nice,
songs. You know, that's how we got yacht rock, intergalactic yacht rock. But you guys should sit down and talk, honestly,
and
because he's
I
got a flair
struggle with
for it.
songs.
Yeah.
Songs are so annoying to me because I wanna write the music, but every time I try and write music, it always comes out as the Beverly Hillbillies. I have these wonderful medieval poetic structures, and the
Oh
music
man,
always comes out as the Beverly Hillbillies. It's annoying.
Cedar, you need to introduce him to Suno because I bet he could come up with music that worked really well if he knew how to use Suno.
Yeah.
I mean, you seriously, Suno would like. There's so many cool. You should talk to David Bannerina too because he's doing some really cool music video stuff. And there's tools now that make that possible. You know, so you need to chat with them. So yeah, so you guys, I mean, I know Cedar's she's Toastmaster, she's gonna running around, but you need to like for like 5 minutes sit with her and talk over Suno because
I'll
she
be
and
happy
Mike have been
to hear.
collaborating on that. So
Oh, darn, I have to sit with this beautiful, smart redhead? Oh,
I know,
darn
how
the
terrible,
luck.
right? Yeah, so but I mean, that's that would because you could get the music to go with it, but really, I mean, it's so much fun to watch you just light up about poetry. You should do a poetry workshop.
Yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I will.
Yeah, I mean, because I mean, you're
'Cause
like,
truth is that sometimes the poetry gets intrusive in The Lord of the Rings,
mhm,
but some of it is like, you can't think about Strider without "All that is gold does not glitter." I mean, you can't think about that.
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
that's such the perfect thing, iconic about that one character, and there are
Yes.
other instances. Um,
So, yeah, I mean, that's a whole different thing right there. You could do a poetry podcast. So,
no, maybe I will. I mean, I am on this podcast, for those of you who are new and have lasted through this 2 hours of us rambling. Um what I do here on this podcast, sometimes it's gonna be creative, processes like we talked about.
yeah,
Some of it's gonna be sports because I love sports and I think about it a lot. Some of it's gonna be history, and some of it's gonna be, reviews of stuff that I find important, like
yeah.
next week, I'll be doing Masters of the Fist.
Mhm.
Um, but poetry is a creative process too, so maybe I'll be talking about that.
Well, and you should pose a riddle at the beginning of every one of your podcasts and have
I
people
should.
put
I mean,
answers in the comment.
I've written hundreds of riddles at this
Yes,
point.
you have, and they're really fun. So you could just tell the riddle at the beginning and then yeah, have people guess the riddles throughout the podcast, and then whoever gets it right at the end.
Yeah.
So so there
So
you
I
go.
am gonna go ahead and shut this at 2 minutes, or 2 hours.
Told you it
Gotta
wouldn't be an hour because we
yeah. I wanted to thank Thomas for also signing up and also Ananta for signing up. Thanks for joining. And thank you guys all for being here. As I said, next week I'll be reviewing this book and probably talking a lot about where I found it and some of the things, some of its place in the writing world. You've probably never heard of Edward P. Hughes unless you've read and remembered some very specific anthologies. And I find this set of stories really amazing. And so I was really glad to find this book, which I didn't even know existed, but it's a collection of his short stories, pretty much all he ever wrote. Um, and then in 2 weeks, we'll have, Caleb Jordan Schultz, who'll talk about his art and his writing, and then also building a house on a mountain in Maine, which
so cool.
is exciting. But the most important thing after this, FenCon. See
FanCon.
everybody in Dallas, Fort Worth. I don't actually know where the hotel is. And
It's over by Dallas Love Field. It's by Love
oh,
Field. Crown
so it's
Plaza
in Dallas.
by Love Field. So
Yeah. I'm excited to see everybody there. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you're there, make sure to go applaud Cedar because she is the toast mistress, and that ought to be a lot of fun. I
yeah.
promise not to heckle too much by some definitions of too much. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you for joining. Thank you, Jonna, for being
Yeah.
a part of this.
Fun.
One last thing. Tell us where we can find Raconteur Press so people can find it who may not know.
Okay, so we do have a Substack. It's Substack, raconteurpress.com. We have a website, raconteurpress.com. We're on X, which is pretty darn silly, under at raconteur understrike press. We're also on Facebook. We have a Facebook group, although we're not as active there. Best place to find us is Substack for our everyday thing, and then on X because we're pretty
Who
silly
knows what
there too.
whimsy?
What?
What whimsy happens?
Well, we tend to be fairly. I mean, we like to have a good time, and we're everyone thinks we're serenely sailing along, but you have no idea the scramble that's happening under the water.
I have some idea.
Well, and part of it is we just are who we are, and we
Well,
like to have a good time, and so
and not for nothing, this is an industry that requires the hustle. Casey
yeah,
Azell says respect the hustle. And Hardwick, you asked questions about doing stuff on Substack. I have no doubt it can be very effective,
yes,
but you got to work your ass off. There's nothing in this business that you can
you
make
have to be
success at
disciplined.
if you're
Pick
not
one
working.
thing and do it really well,
Yeah.
right? Oh, also the other thing, anthologies open calls because you got chloroformed and you're doing an anthology for
Yeah,
us.
I'm doing
So
Kaiju open call, and
yeah,
I'm excited about that one because
yeah.
what I want is fun stuff. I want roar.
Well, yeah.
I want that 1950s feel of stuff. I want
Read
people to
the
walk out
homework.
going, "This is so much fun. I want to go watch Godzilla again and
Yeah.
Mothra and all those great ones."
Yeah, that'll be opening soon, but we have several other ones open right now, and we do have
Yeah.
an open calls list on our Substack. So, and also our Boys Adventure is open call. Go read our submission guidelines. Read the guidelines. So read the guidelines. I mean,
And
so
here's the trick.
yes.
Make yourself styles in your word processing that match every
Yes.
publisher you
Well, and
submit.
not only that, but don't send us a spaghetti story that doesn't match the call, or it makes clear that you haven't read the homework. I mean, read the homework to see what our editors want to see in a story. Don't just throw us something at us and think it sticks on the wall because we'll just throw it right back at you. So,
Hey, Cedar, I have written the homework. I submitted it,
no,
a
we have
month
the
and a half
homework.
ago.
Yeah, we have
Eeny,
his.
meeny, boo boo.
We just haven't published it yet, so
Ah,
it's coming.
ah,
Um,
ah.
so, but we had it. He's ahead of the game. Yay, thank you. So, but yeah, we're waiting on because yours is until like October, I think. I mean,
Yeah,
you're a couple.
September, I think, is,
Yeah, and it'll open like
August, I think.
August, I think. But
No
there's a
worries,
whole
Cedar,
list of
I'm
them.
just being a jerk.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. So, well, yeah, so it's in the drafts. Why would you look there? So, but we got it. So Rob's on it. Um, so anyhow, so yeah, that's where you find us as X Substack. Type in Raconteur Press. Crazy stuff comes up. That would be us. So check out our boys adventure books on Amazon. Our anthologies, we're up to 72 anthologies, um, and novels coming out. Battle Drills is on pre-order right now from Shane Grease. Really fun Bill
Heck of a
SF.
writer.
And John Van Stry's third book in his Valley of Fire series in the Wolfhounds universe is goes live tomorrow.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
Yeah, and Boy Against the Boxers, which is about a kid living through the Boxer Rebellion, is live
which
now.
I'm actually really interested in because that's not a period I've studied.
It's really cool. I mean, it just
Oh, a ton of stuff
Jacob
happened.
Sharp is like, and he's got another one with us that's historical as well. And I'm like, whoa, this is good too. So, but yeah, that's pretty much us. I mean, and we could go on for days because Rob and I know we can go on for days.
And I'm
But
gonna add one last thing for anybody who's in there who's new to writing. I can't emphasize how useful it is to write short stories.
Mhm.
Submit to these anthologies. You may or may not get chosen. You may not be good enough, but it's a great way to hone your craft, and sooner or later, you'll start getting them in. And for every one that doesn't get accepted, you know what you still have? You still have a short story.
And then you
Like,
go to
I
Team and More and you figured out where to send it because teamandmore.org has all sorts of open calls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go d like, it won't get you a lot of money, but it'll get you some, and if you hustle at sales, like, I sell a lot in person. Like,
Mhm,
I'll have a bunch of books at FinCon because I have a Texas state ID.
mhm.
I'll be selling books at my autograph session, and I can't tell you how much money I've made selling the anthologies face to face over the years.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
100% like Perry says, it's a great way. It's not to say you shouldn't do long fiction, you should, but every once in a while, you gotta shift gears and write something new, or maybe you're writing long fiction, and one of the ways you get your long fiction go some traction is to write short stories in that universe.
Yes. Like
So
J. Kenton Pierce did, like, 8 short stories with us for his Tales of the Long Night series, you know? I mean, and
and
now
then
we're
you just
published.
publish them. After you get the rights back, I have an entire book in my Edward series that is the 7 short stories I wrote, an 8 short story I wrote specifically for new content, and then
It's been up all
several
day.
of the world building things I did in it as well. So you can do all sorts of things with short stories. They can be
Yes,
your
you can.
they can do all sorts of things. Short stories are really useful tool. All
Yes.
right,
Okay,
I've talked
hair
enough.
down. Done working, hair down. Ugh, my hair
See you
hurts.
in 2 days.
2
I'm
days. I'll be in
looking
the bar.
forward I'm looking forward to the bar. Maybe
Yeah,
they'll
I'll
have
be
an
there.
Italian wine there and you can get me started.
Yes. I you don't wanna buy it at the bar, though. It'll be too expensive at the hotel, but I can give you some definite good brands, and you can go on wine tasting while you're there, right?
Yeah,
So, there's a couple of restaurants in Florence that have their farm to table, and they have their own wine from their farm, and, and the cows eat the grape leftovers that become a steak, then it's amazing.
definitely gonna
So
have to get those from you.
yes, we'll do that. Okay, cool.
All
We should
right,
stop
I'm
now,
ending it
double
for
time.
real. I'm ending it now. Thanks to all who showed up. I appreciate it. You guys have a great night. Thanks, Jonna, and I
Yep,
look forward to seeing you in a couple days.
yep,
Have a
we'll see
great
you
day,
soon.
everybody, and see you at FenCon.
Thank you. Thanks for everybody coming.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.